Hello my dubs, welcome back to Holy Library. Wait, hold on, where's my chat? Hold on, that's weird, why is chat not showing? Oh well, hi, welcome. I don't know, I've never done ASMR before, but I'll try my best. I'm trying to whisper. Hopefully, y'all can hear me. I'll try my best to do this, right? But anyways, welcome. Thank you so much for checking in today. Okay, yeah, what? I am feeling much better today. I think it was good that I took Friday off to recharge. Yeah, that's the word. I think it's good that I took Friday off to recharge, and I've been spending the weekend just having some me time and sleeping, catching up with my sleep as well, and watching some anime, which I don't think I had like had time before to like just sit down and binge watch, so that was nice. Yes. And okay, where's my channel working? Okay, all right, I guess that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Like I said, I'm not really the type of person who listens to ASMR. It kind of, I don't know, my ears. It's too much for my ears. But I'll see. Hopefully I try to do it right. It was one of my goals for reaching 600 followers, which I'm very grateful for you all. I'm really happy that the vlog has grown this much, and that I'm trying my best to reach every single of my goals this year. So yes. Today I'm gonna be reading Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales. You'll probably know him because he is the author of The Little Mermaid. That's probably his most famous one, but maybe you might not know he's also the author of many other really famous fairy tales. For example, Thumbelina, The Ugly Duckling, The Princess and the Pea. I think he also, oh yeah, The Ice Queen. The Ice Queen is a story Frozen was inspired of. So I just thought it would be nice to read those stories. I think I only read The Little Mermaid, but I've had this book for a while with every single one of his fairy tales that I've been meaning to read at some point. So that's why I thought it would be nice to read them, and maybe also try to read some that I never read before, that I'm not very I feel like he has a lot of really obscure ones as well, so I thought it'd be nice. I just saw one that had like a god in the title, so I was like, huh, that would be fitting. Hey, thank you for the headband, Quincy. But yeah, well, another interesting detail, I guess, is that he was, I think the author was very Christian, maybe Catholic. I've seen before that some of his stories has to do with religion. Even The Little Mermaid has like some of that in the story, although it's not really that evident at first look. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. Okay, let me. Oh wait, hold on. Also, maybe since I have the physical book, that will also work as ASMR sound. Let's see. Can y'all hear this? Just the beaches. My model. My model's looking all wonky because I cover my phone camera with my book. I can hear some of it. Yay! Okay. I know that some people, well, the people who are actually ASMR like pros, they have this special microphone for that. Kind of looks like a couple ears. Of course, since I never done this before, I'm only using my normal microphone, so I hope that's enough for that. But maybe if one day I actually end up liking this, maybe I could invest on something. We'll see. I think it sounds nice. Yay! Okay, good. Alright, hold on, let me... Okay, which one should we start with? Oh wait, let me get on my book. There. Yes, here. Now I'm actually reading. Okay, which one should I start with? Okay, yeah. First, I want to start with those I'm familiar with. So, you sound nice and soft-spoken, not too sensitive or anything like that. Ah, yay! I'm glad. Cute. I was a bit anxious, but I'm glad. I'm glad y'all think I sound okay. Maybe this will be a one-time thing. Okay, let me see. Oh yeah, the title God Can Never Die. That's the one I've thought about. Interesting. Okay, we'll start with the princess. The princess on the P. Oh yeah, hold on. Let me put my little rule thingy. In case there's anybody who comes into chat, so they know. Well, oh wait, hold on. This for my reading streams. It doesn't have a PDF. Oops. Never mind. I forgot. This one is old. I should probably have made a updated one for ASMR. Oh well. Let's just leave it like that. Okay, we're Princess on the P, number 13. Oh wow, the introduction of this book is really long. Okay. No, where is it? Okay, I found it. My model looks a little bit wonky. Hold on. Let me try to figure out how to move my camera. Okay, maybe like this. Okay. The Princess on the P. Once there was a prince who wanted to marry a princess. Only a real one will do. So he traveled through all the world to find her, and everywhere things went wrong. There were princesses aplenty, but how was he to know whether they were real princesses? There was something not quite right about them all, so he came home again and was unhappy, because he did so want to have a real princess. One evening, a terrible storm blew up. It lightened and thunder and rain. It was really frightful. In the midst of it all came a knocking at the town gate. The old king went to open it. Who should be standing outside but a princess, and what a sight she was in all that rain and wind. Water streamed from her hair down her clothes into her shoes, and ran out at the heels, yet she claimed to be a real princess. We'll soon find that out, the old queen thought to herself, without saying a word about it. She went to the bedchamber, stripped back the bedclothes, and put just one pea in the bottom of the bed. Then she took 20 mattresses and piled them on the pea. Then she took 20 eider-down feather beds and piled them on the mattresses. Up on top of all these, the princess was to spend the night. In the morning they asked her, "Did you sleep well?" "Oh," said the princess, "no, I scarcely slept at all. Heaven knows what's in the bed. I lay on something so hard that I'm black and blue all over. It was simply terrible." They could see she was a real princess, and no question about it. Now that she had fell one pea all the way through 20 mattresses and 20 more feather beds. Nobody but a princess could be so delicate. So the prince made haste to marry her, because he knew he had found a real princess. As for the pea, they put it in the museum. There is still to be seen, unless somebody has taken it. There, that's a true story. Oh, wow, this was actually very short. For some reason, I expected it to be a bit longer. Okay, let me see the other one. Thumbelina, that's the other one I wanted to start. Wait, wow, I didn't know it was that short. Yeah. It was literally like a little bit more than a single page. I am very surprised. Okay, Thumbelina is gonna be a lot longer though. Well, not that much. A few pages more, definitely. Okay, now Thumbelina. Actually, I think I only watched the animated movie once. I wanna watch it again sometime. Okay. There once was a woman who wanted so very much to have a tiny little child, but she did not know where to find one. So she went to an old witch and she said, "I have set my heart upon having a tiny little child. Please could you tell me where I can find one?" "Why, that's easily done," said the witch. "Here's a grain of barley for you, but it isn't all the sort of barley that farmers grow in their fields, or that the chickens get to eat. But in a flower pot, and you see what you shall see." "Oh, thank you," the woman said. She gave the witch 12 pennies and planted the barley seed as soon as she got home. It quickly grew into a fine large flower, which looked very much like a tulip, but the petals were folded tight, as though it were still a bud. "This is such a pretty flower," said the woman. She kissed its lovely red and yellow petals, and just as she kissed it, the flower gave a loud pop and flew open. It was a tulip, right enough, but on the green cushion in the middle of it sat a tiny girl. She was dainty and fair to see, but she was no taller than your thumb, so she was called Thumbelina. A nicely polished walnut shell served as her cradle. Her mattress was made of the blue petals of violets, and a rose petal was pulled up to cover her. That was how she slept at night. In the daytime, she played on a table where the woman put a plate a plate surrounded with a wreath of flowers. Their stems lay in the water, on which there floated a large tulip petal. Thumbelina used the petal as a boat, and with a pair of white horsehairs for oars, she could row clear across the plate. A charming sight. She could sing too. Her voice was the softest and sweetest that anyone ever heard. One night, as she lay in her cradle, a horrible toad hopped in through the window. One of the panes was broken. This big, ugly, slimy toad jumped right down on the table where Thumbelina was asleep under the red rose petal. "Here's a perfect wife for my son," the toad proclaimed. She seized upon the walnut shell in which the Thumbelina lay asleep and hopped off with it, out the window into the garden. A big broad stream ran through it, with a murky marsh along its banks, and here the toad lived with her son. Ugh, he was just like his mother, slamming horrible. Coax, coax, break eggs was all that he could say when he saw the graceful little girl in the walnut shell. "Don't speak so loud, or you will wake her up," the old toad told him. "She might get away from us yet, for she is as light as a puff of swanstone. We must put her on one of the broad water lily leaves out in the stream. She's so small and light that it will be just like an island to her, and she can run away from us while we are making our best room under the mud ready for you to live in." Many water lilies with broad green leaves grew in the stream, and it looked as if they were floating on the surface. The leaf that lay furthest from the bank was the largest of them all, and it was to this leaf that the old toad swam with the walnut shell that held Thumbelina. That poor little thing woke up early next morning, and when she saw where she was, she began to cry bitterly. There was water all around the big green leaf, and there was no way at all for her to reach the shore. The old toad sat in the mud, decorating a room with green rush and yellow water lilies, to have it looking its best for her new daughter-in-law. Then she and her ugly son swam out to the leaf on which a Thumbelina was standing. They came for her pretty little bed, which they wanted to carry to the bridal chamber before they took her there. The old toad curtsied deeply in the water before her and said, "Meet my son. He is to be your husband, and you will share a delightful home in the mud." Coax, coax, break eggs was all that her son could say. Then they took the pretty little bed and swam away with it, left all alone in the green leaf. Thumbelina sat down and cried. She did not want to live in the slimy toad's home, and she didn't want to have her toad's horrible son for her husband. The little fishes who swam in the water beneath her had seen the toad and heard what she had said. So up popped their heads to have a look at the little girl. No sooner that they had seen her than they felt very sorry that anyone so pretty should have to go down to live with that hideous toad. No, that should never be. They gathered around the green stem that held the leaf where she was, and gnawed in it too with their teeth. Away went the leaf down the stream, and away went Thumbelina, far away where the toad could not catch her. Thumbelina sailed past many a place, and when the little birds in the bushes saw her, they sang, "What a darling little girl!" The leaf drifted further and further away with her, and so it was that Thumbelina became a traveler. A lovely white butterfly kept fluttering around her, and at last alighted on the leaf, because he admired Thumbelina. She was a happy little girl again, now that the toad could not catch her. It was all very lovely as she floated along, and where the sun struck the water, it looked like shining gold. Thumbelina undid her sash, tied one end of it to the butterfly, and made the other end fast to the leaf. It went much faster now, and Thumbelina went much faster too, for of course she was standing on it. Just then, a big Maybug flew by and caught sight of her. Immediately, he fastened his claws around her slender waist and flew with her up into the tree. Away went the green leaf down the stream, and away went the butterfly with it, for he was tied to the leaf and could not get loose. My goodness, how frightened little Thumbelina was when the Maybug carried her up to the tree. But she was even more sorry for the nice white butterfly she had fastened to the leaf, because if he couldn't free himself, he would have to starve to death. But the Maybug wasn't one to care about that. He sat her down on the largest green leaf of the tree, fed her honey from the flowers, and told her how pretty she was, considering that she didn't look the least like a Maybug. After a while, all the other Maybugs who lived in the tree came to pay them a call. As they stared at Thumbelina, the lady Maybugs threw up their feelers and said, "Why, she has only 2 legs. What a miserable sight." "She hasn't any feelers," one cried. "She's pinched in at the waist. How shameful. She looks like a human being. How ugly she is," said all of the female Maybugs. Yet Thumbelina was as pretty as ever. Even the Maybug who had flown away with her knew that. But as every last one of them kept calling her ugly, he at length came to agree with them and would have nothing to do with her. She could go wherever she chose. They flew down out of the tree with her and left her on a daisy, where she sat and cried because she was so ugly that the Maybugs wouldn't have anything to do with her. Nevertheless, she was the loveliest little girl you can imagine, and as frail and fine as a petal of a rose. All summer long, poor Thumbelina lived all alone in the woods. She wove herself a hammock of grass and hung it under a big burdock leaf to keep off the rain. She took honey from the flowers for food and drank the dew that she found on the leaves every morning. In this way, the summer and fall went by. Then came the winter, the long cold winter. All the birds who had sung so sweetly for her flew away. The trees and the flowers withered. The big burdock leaf under which she had lived shriveled up until nothing was left of it but a dry yellow stalk. She was terribly cold, for her clothes had worn threadbare, and she herself was not slender and frail. She herself was so slender and frail. Poor Thumbelina, she would freeze to death. Snow began to fall, and every time a snowflake struck her, it was as if she had been hit by a whole shovelful. For we are quite tall, while she measured only an inch. She wrapped a withered leaf about her, but there was no warmth in it. She shivered with cold. Near the edge of the woods where she now had arrived was a large grain field, but the grain had been harvested long ago. Only the dry, bare stubble stuck out of the frozen ground. It was just as if she were lost in a vast forest, and oh, how she shivered with cold. Then she came to the door of a field mouse, and who had a little hole amid the stubble. There this mouse lived, warm and cozy, with a whole storeroom for grain, and a magnificent kitchen and pantry. Poor Thumbelina stood at the door, just like a beggar child, and played for a little bit of barley, because she hadn't had anything to eat for 2 days past. "Why, you poor little thing," said the field mouse, who turned out to be a kind-hearted old creature. "You must come into my warm room and share my dinner." She took such a fancy to Thumbelina that she said, "If you care to, you must stay with me all winter, but you must keep my room tidy and tell me stories, for I am very fond of them." Thumbelina did as the kind old field mouse asked, and she had a very good time of it. "Soon we shall have a visitor," the field mouse said. "Once every week my neighbor comes to see me, and he's even better off than I am. His rooms are large, and he wears such a beautiful black velvet coat. If you could only get him for a husband, you could be well taken care of, but he can't see anything. You must tell him the very best stories you know." Thumbelina did not like this suggestion. She would not even consider the neighbor, because he was a mole. He paid them a visit in his black velvet coat. The field mouse talked about how wealthy and wise he was, and how his home was more than 20 times larger than hers. But for all of his knowledge, he cared nothing at all for the sun and the flowers. He had nothing good to say for them, and had never laid eyes on them. As Thumbelina had to sing for him, she sang, "Maybug, Maybug, fly away home, and the monk goes afield." The mole fell in love with her sweet voice, but he didn't say anything about it yet, for he was a most discreet fellow. He had just dug a long tunnel through the ground from his house to theirs, and the field mouse and Thumbelina were invited to use it whenever they pleased. though he warned them not to be alarmed by the dead bird that lay in this passage. It was a complete bird, with feather and beak. It must have died quite recently, when winter set in, and it was buried right in the middle of the tunnel. The mole took in his mouth a torch of decayed wood. In the darkness, it glimmered like fire. He went ahead of them to light the way through the long, dark passage. When they came to where the dead bird lay, the mole put his broad nose to the ceiling and made a large hole through which daylight could fall. In the middle of the floor lay a dead swallow, with his lovely wings folded at his sides and his head tucked under his feathers. The poor bird must certainly have died of the cold. Thumbelina felt so sorry for him. She loved all the little birds who had sung and sweetly twittered to her all through the summer. But the mole gave the body a kick with his short stumps and said, "Now he won't be chirping anymore. What a wretched thing is to be born a little bird. Thank goodness none of my children can be a bird, who has nothing but his chirp chirp and must starve to death when winter comes along." "Yes, you're so right, you sensible man," the field mouse agreed. "What good is all this chirp chirping to a bird in the winter time, when he starves and freezes? But that's considered very grand, I imagine." Thumbelina kept quiet, but when the others turned their back on the bird, she bent over, smoothed aside the feathers that hid the bird's head, and kissed the closed eyes. "Maybe it was he who sang so sweetly to me in the summertime," she thought to herself. "What pleasure he gave me, the dear pretty bird." The mole closed up the hole that let in the daylight, and then he took the ladies home. That night, Thumbelina could not sleep a wink, so she got up and wove a fine large coverlet out of a hay. She took it to the dead bird and spread it over him, so that he would lie warm in the cold earth. She tucked him in with some soft thistle down that she had found in the field mouse's room. "Goodbye, my pretty little bird," she said. "Goodbye, and thank you for your sweet songs last summer, when the trees were all green and the sun shone so warmly upon us." She laid her head on his breast, and it startled her to feel a soft thump, as if something were beating inside. This was the bird's heart. He was not dead. He was only numb with cold, and now that he had been warmed, he came to life again. In the fall, all swallows fly off to warm countries, but if one of them starts too late, he gets so cold that he drops down as if he were dead, and lies where he fell, and then the cold snow covers him. Thumbelina was so frightened that she trembled, for the bird was so big, so enormous compared to her own inch of height. But she mustered her courage, tucked the cotton wool down closer around the poor bird, brought the mint leaf that covered her own bed, and spread over the bird's head. The following night, she tiptoed out to him again. He was alive now, but so weak that he could barely open his eyes for a moment to look at Thumbelina, who stood beside him with a piece of torchwood that was her only lantern. "Thank you, pretty little bird," the sick swallow said. "Ah, thank you, pretty little child," the sick swallow said. "I have been wonderfully warm. Soon I shall get strong once more, and be able to fly again in the warm sunshine." "Oh," she said, "it's cold outside, it's snowing, I'm freezing. Do you stay in your warm bed and I'll nurse you." Then she brought him some water in the petal of a flower. The swallow drank and told her how he had hurt one of his wings in a thorn bush, and for that reason couldn't fly as fast as the other swallows when they flew far, far away to the warm countries. Finally, he had dropped to the ground. That was all he remembered, and he had no idea how he came to be where she found him. The swallow stayed there all through the winter, and Thumbelina was kind to him and tended him with loving care. She didn't say anything about this to the field mouse or to the mole, because they did not like the poor unfortunate swallow. As soon as spring came and the sun warmed the earth, the swallow told Thumbelina it was time to say goodbye. She reopened the hole that the mole had made in the ceiling, and the sun shone in splendor upon them. The swallow asked Thumbelina to go with him. She could sit on his back as they flew away through the green woods. But Thumbelina knew that it will make the old field mouse feel badly if she left like that, so she said, "No, I cannot go." Fare you well, my good and pretty girl," said the swallow as he flew into the sunshine. Tears came into Thumbelina's eyes as she watched him go, for she was so fond of the poor swallow. "Chirp, chirp," sang the bird as he flew into the green woods. Thumbelina felt very downcast. She was not permitted to go out in the warm sunshine. Moreover, the grain that was sown in the field above the field mouse's house grew so tall that, to a poor little girl who was only an inch high, it was like a dense forest. "You must work on your trousseau this summer," the field mouse said, for their neighbor, that loathsome mole in his black velvet coat, had proposed to her. "You must have both woolens and linens, both beddings and wardrobe, when you become the mole's wife." Thumbelina had to turn the spindle, and the field mouse hired 4 spiders to spin the web for her day and night. The mole came to call every evening, and his favorite remark was that the sun, which now baked the earth as hard as a rock, will not be nearly so hot when the summer was over. Yes, as soon as summer was past, he will be marrying Thumbelina. But she was not at all happy about it, because she didn't like the tedious mole the least bit. Every morning at sunrise and every evening at sunset, she would steal out the door. When the breeze blew the ears of grain apart, she could catch glimpses of the blue sky. She could dream about how bright and fair it was out of the doors, and how she wished she would see her dear swallow again. But he did not come back, for doubtless he was far away, flying about in the lovely green woods. When fall arrived, Thumbelina's whole trousseau was ready. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. "Your wedding day is 4 weeks off," the field mouse told her, but Thumbelina cried and declared that she would not have the tedious mole for a husband. "Fiddlesticks," said the field mouse. "Don't you be obstinate, or I'll bite you with my white teeth. Why, you're getting a superb husband. The queen herself has in a black velvet coat as fine as his. Both his kitchen and his cellar are well supplied. You ought to thank goodness that you're getting him." Then came the wedding day. The mole had come to take Thumbelina home with him, where she will have to live deep underground and never go out in the warm sunshine again, because he disliked it so. The poor little girl felt very sad that she had to say goodbye to the glorious sun, which the field mouse had at least let her look out at through the doorway. "Farewell, bright sun," she said, with her arm stretched toward it. She walked a little way from the field mouse's home. The grain had been harvested, and only the dry stubble was left in the field. "Farewell, farewell," she cried again, and flung her little arms around a small red flower that was still in bloom. "If you see my dear swallow, please give him my love." Chirp, 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 she suddenly heard a twittering over her head. She looked up, and there was the swallow, just passing by. He was so glad to see Thumbelina, although when she told him how she hated to marry the mole and live deeper underground, where the sun never shone, she could not hold back her tears. "Now that the cold winter is coming," the swallow told her, "I shall fly far, far away to the warm countries. Won't you come along with me? You can ride on my back. Just tie yourself on with your sash, and away we'll fly, far from the ugly mole and his dark hole, far, far away, over the mountains, to those warm countries where the sun shines so much fairer than here, to where it's always summer and there are always flowers. Please fly away with me, dear little Thumbelina. You could save my life when I lay frozen in a dark hole in the earth." "Yes, I will go with you," said Thumbelina. She sat on his back, put her feet on his outstretched wings, and fastened her sash to one of his strongest feathers. Then the swallow soared into the air, over forests and over lakes, high up over the grand mountains that are always capped with snow. When Thumbelina felt cold in the chill air, she crept under the bird's warm feathers, with only her little head stuck out to watch all the wonderful sights below. At length, they came to the warm countries. There the sun shone far more brightly than it ever does here, and the sky seemed twice as high. Along the ditches and hedgerows grew marvelous green and blue grapes. Lemons and oranges hung in the woods. The air smelled sweetly of myrtle and thyme. By the wayside, the loveliest children ran hither and thither, playing with the brightly colored butterflies. But the swallow flew on still farther, and it became more and more beautiful. Under magnificent green trees, on the shore of a blue lake, there stood an ancient palace of dazzling white marble. The lofty pillars were wreathed with vines, and at the top of them many swallows had made their nest. One nest belonged to the swallow who carried Thumbelina. "This is my home," the swallow told her. "If you will choose one of those glorious flowers in bloom down below, I shall place you in it, and you will have all that your heart desires." "That will be lovely," she cried, and clapped her tiny hands. A great white marble pillar had fallen to the ground, where it lay in 3 broken pieces. Between these pieces grew the loveliest large white flowers. The swallow flew down with Thumbelina and put her in one of the large petals. How surprised she was to find in the center of the flower a little man, as shining and transparent as if he had been made of glass. On his head was the daintiest of little gold crowns. On his shoulder were the brightest shining wings, and he was not a bit bigger than Thumbelina. He was the spirit of the flower. In every flower there lived a small man or woman just like him, but he was the king over all of them. "Oh, isn't he handsome?" Thumbelina said softly to the swallow. The king was somewhat afraid of the swallow, which seemed a very giant of a bird to anyone as small as he. But when he saw Thumbelina, he rejoiced, for she was the prettiest little girl he had ever laid eyes on. So he took off his golden crown and put it on her head. He asked if he might know her name, and he asked her to be his wife, which will make her queen over all the flowers. Here indeed was a different sort of husband from the toad's son and the mole with his black velvet coat. So she said yes to his charming king. From all the flowers trooped little ladies and gentlemen delightful to behold. Every one of them brought Thumbelina a present. But the best gift of all was a pair of wings that had belonged to a large silver fly. When these were made fast to her back, she could flit from flower to flower. Everyone rejoiced as the swallow perched above them in his nest and sang his very best songs for them. He was sad, though, deep down in his heart, for he liked Thumbelina so much that he wanted never to part with her. "You shall no longer be called Thumbelina," the flower spirit told her. "That name is too ugly for anyone as pretty as you are. We shall call you Maya." "Goodbye, goodbye," said the swallow. He flew away again from the warm countries, back to faraway Denmark, where he had a little nest over the window of the man who can tell you fairy tales. To him, the birds sang, "Chirp, chirp, chirp, chirp," and that's how we heard the whole story. Okay, well, that was a bit longer than I expected. Wait, hold on. Let me catch up with chat because I didn't get to see what was happening. Wait. Wait. Oh, Amado, welcome. I didn't see you. Also, thank you so much for the follows. Well, I didn't notice the follows until now. Hello, congratulations on reaching 600 followers. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Cassiel Aurelius, hi Monechi. Yeah, it's my first ASMR. Lovely, thank you. Hopefully I'm doing right so far. Hold on, I forgot. I forgot to turn off something. Oh yeah. I forgot to turn off my toggle when someone follows me because I'm holding a book right now. Hi, OMG, your voice sounds so soft and soothing. Oh, thank you. I'm glad. I didn't expect it to be so hard to be just whispering the whole time. My throat's already a little bit tired. Okay, but yes, that was Thumbelina. The story of Thumbelina. Honestly, that ending made me really sad. I was really liking her with the little bird. I'm sad they parted. And I don't know about you all, but the flower king saying her name was ugly, that didn't seem like a good ending to me, honestly. Real, I feel like my throat tires faster. Yeah, it's like you're making more what's it called? Wait, how do you say in English? Because in Spanish you say like esfuerzo. And I'm completely like now right now. Effort, yeah, effort. You have to put like a more effort to whisper. So that's why I feel like my throat gets tired easier. But yeah, Thumbelina was definitely very different from the movie that I watched, and that ending didn't made me sad. I kind of wonder if that was what it was meant to be, given how like other like Little Mermaid being a sad ending. The movie's intense, right? Okay, it's definitely very different, because isn't in the movie like another character that she falls in love with? Maybe that's what the Flower King is based on. But this one I didn't like. He just showed up last minute and then he's like, your name is ugly and I'm gonna marry you. I'm gonna rename you and I'm gonna marry you. Like, why? Like, she basically spent the whole story trying to get away from these male animals trying to marry her by force, only to end up with another guy she just met. Like, what? I don't know, I wonder if there's like some lesson from this story. Okay, let me see what other story we read next. This one's called A Naughty Boy. Traveling companion. Well, that was The Talisman. Ooh, okay. God Can Never Die. That's the one that caught my eye because of the title. It's also super short. Ooh, sounds interesting, right? And it's very short, like The Princess on the Pea. Literally just one page. So let's see what it is about. Let me try to move my camera a little bit. Ah, no! I lost the page. I probably should have gotten a bookmark for this. Okay. Getting cozy as I listen. Yay! Good. Get cozy, get some tea, some coffee, while I read you some stories. Okay. God Can Never Die. It was a Sunday morning. The sun shone brightly and warmly into the room, as the air, mild and refreshing, flowed through the open window. And out under God's blue heaven, where fields and meadows were covered with greens and flowers, all the little birds rejoiced. While joy and contentment was everywhere outside, in the house lived sorrow and misery. Even the wife, who otherwise always was in good spirits, sat that morning at the breakfast table with a downcast expression. Finally she arose, without having touched a bite of her food, dried her eyes, and walked toward the door. It really seemed as if there were a curse hanging over this house. The cost of living was high, and the food supply was low. Taxes had become heavier and heavier. Year after year, the household belongings had depreciated more and more. And now at last, there was nothing to look forward to but poverty and misery. For a long time, all this had depressed the husband, who always had been a hard-working and law-abiding citizen. Now the thought of the future filled him with despair. Many times he even threatened to end his miserable and hopeless existence. Neither the comforting words of his good-humored wife, nor the worldly or spiritual counsel of his friends had helped him. This had only made him more silent and sorrowful. It is easy to understand that his poor wife finally should lose her courage too. However, there was quite another reason for her sadness, which we soon shall hear. When the husband saw that his wife also grieved and wanted to leave the room, he stopped her and said, "I won't let you go until you have told me what is wrong with you." After a moment of silence, she sighed and said, "Oh, my dear husband, I dreamed last night that God was dead and that all the angels followed him to his grave." "How can you believe or think such foolish stuff?" answered the husband. "You know, of course, that God can never die." The good wife's face sparkled with happiness, and as she affectionately squeezed both her husband's hands, she exclaimed, "Then our dear God is still alive." "Why, of course," said the husband. "How could you ever doubt it?" Then she embraced him and looked at him with loving eyes, expressing confidence, peace, and happiness, as she said, "But my dear husband, if God is still alive, why do we not believe and trust in him? He has counted every hair on our heads. Not a single one is lost without his knowledge. He clothes the lilies in the field. He feeds the sparrows and the ravens." It was as if a veil lifted from his eyes, and as if a heavy load fell from his heart when she spoke these words. He smiled for the first time in a long time, and thanked his dear, pious wife for the trick she had played on him, through which she had revived his belief in God and restored his trust. And in the room the sun shone and ribboned more friendly on the happy people's faces. A gentle breeze caressed their smiling cheeks, and the birds sang even louder their heartfelt thanks to God. Oh, so I guess it's a story about how God cured their depression. It was definitely not what I expected. For some reason, I thought it was gonna be more what's it called? I don't know, more creepy or something. Make sure to keep your voice hydrated, guys. Oh yeah. Let me get my water right now. My throat. Okay. My mother looks funny when I'm drinking water. Okay. Whew. I probably should have done my vocal warm-ups before this stream. But I was rushing, setting up everything as usual. Okay, let's see what other story we can find. Please do vocal cooldowns if you can. Oh yeah, I always forget those. I need to set up a reminder for myself. Okay, let's see. Oh, the Little Mermaid. Okay. Yes, thank you, Manoji. I'll keep it in mind. Wait, the Emperor's new clothes? Wait, that's also a story by him? Oh my god. I have no idea. Wow, he really made like the most iconic fairy tales. Hi Glover, thank you for the daily prayer. Welcome. Praise for the same semi-fallen angel. Yes, thank you. Wait, let me see how long is this one. Oh wow, actually this one is not really long. So I'm guessing, wait, that means the Emperor's New Groove is based on this one, isn't it? Because the title is like similar. Okay, let me. Okay. Yes, that's the pun. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Okay. I'm gonna. The Emperor's New Clothes. Many years ago, there was an emperor so exceedingly fond of new clothes that he spent all his money on being well dressed. He cared nothing about reviewing his soldiers, going to a theater, or going for a ride in his carriage, except to show off his new clothes. He had coat for every hour of the day, and instead of saying, as one might, about any other rule, the kings in council, here they always said, the emperor's in his dressing room. In the great city where he lived, life was always gay. Every day, many strangers came to town, and among them one day came two swindlers. They let it be known that they were weavers, and they said they could weave the most magnificent fabrics imaginable. Not only were their colors and patterns uncommonly fine, but clothes made of his cloth had a wonderful way of becoming invisible to anyone who wasn't fit for his office or who was unusually stupid. Those will be just the clothes for me, thought the emperor. If I wore them, I will be able to discover which men in my empire are unfit for their post, and I could tell the wise men from the fools. Yes, I certainly must get some of this stuff woven for me right away. He paid the two swindlers a large sum of money to start work at once. They set up two looms and pretended to weave, though there was nothing on the looms. All the finest silk and the purest old thread that they demanded went into their traveling bags, while they worked the empty looms far into the night. I'd like to know how those weavers are getting on with the cloth, the emperor thought, but he felt slightly uncomfortable when he remembered that those who were unfit for their position would not be able to see the fabric. It couldn't have been that he thought himself, yet he thought he'd rather send someone else to see how things were. Things were going. The whole town knew about the cloth's peculiar power, and now were impatient to find out how stupid their neighbors were. I'll send my honest old minister to the weavers, the emperor decided. He'll be the best one to tell me how the material looks, for he's a sensible man, and no one does his duty better. So the honest old minister went to the room where the two swindlers sat working away at the empty looms. Heaven help me, he thought as his eyes flew wide open. I can't see anything at all, but he did not say so. Both the swindlers begged him to be so kind as to come near to approve this excellent pattern with beautiful colors. They pointed to the empty looms, and the poor old minister stared as hard as he dared. He couldn't see anything, because there was nothing to see. Heavens have mercy, he thought. Can it be that I'm a fool? I have never guessed it, and not a soul must know. Am I unfit to be minister? It will never do to let on that I can see the cloth. Don't hesitate to tell us what you think of it, said one of the weavers. Oh, it's beautiful. It's enchanting. The old minister peered through his spectacles. Such a pattern. What colors? I'll be sure to tell the emperor how delighted I am with it. We're pleased to hear that. the swindler said. They proceeded to name all the colors and explain the intricate pattern. The old minister paid the closest attention so that he could tell it all to the emperor, and so he did. The swindlers at once asked for more money, more silk, and gold thread to get on with the weaving, but it all went into their pockets. Not a thread went into the looms, so they worked at their weaving as hard as ever. The emperor presently sent another trustworthy official to see how the work progressed and how soon it would be ready. The same thing happened to him that had happened to the minister. He looked and looked, but as there was nothing to see in the looms, he couldn't see anything. "Isn't it beautiful? A beautiful piece of goods?" the swindlers asked him as they displayed and described their imaginary pattern. "I know I'm not stupid," the man thought, "so it must be that I'm unworthy of my good office. That's strange. I mustn't let anyone find it out though." So he praised the material he did not see. He declared he was delighted with the beautiful colors and exquisite pattern. To the emperor, he said, "It held me spellbound." All the town was talking of this splendid cloth, and the emperor wanted to see it for himself while he was still in the looms. Attended by a band of chosen men, among whom were his two old trusted officials, the one who had been to the weavers, he set out to see the two swindlers. He found it weaving with might and main, but without a thread in their looms. "Magnificent," said the two dupe officials. "Just look, your majesty, what colors, what a design." They pointed to the empty looms, each supposing that the others could see the stuff. "What's this?" thought the emperor. "I can't see anything. This is terrible. Am I a fool? Am I unfit to be emperor? What a thing to happen to me of all people. Oh, it's very pretty," he said. It has my highest approval." And he nodded approbation at the empty loom. Nothing could make him say that he couldn't see anything. His whole retinue stared and stared. One said no more than another, but they all joined the emperor in exclaiming, "Oh, it's very pretty," and they advised him to wear clothes made of his wonderful cloth, especially for the great procession he was soon to lead. "Magnificent, excellent, unsurpassed," were bandied from mouth to mouth, and everyone did his best to seem well pleased. The emperor gave each of the swindlers a cross to wear in his buttonhole, and the title of Sir Weaver. Before the procession, the swindlers sat up all night and burned more than 6 candles to show how busy they were finishing the emperor's new clothes. They pretended to take the cloth off the loom. They made cuts in the air with huge scissors, and at last they said, "Now the emperor's new clothes are ready for him." Then the emperor himself came with his noblest noblemen, and the swindlers each raised an arm as if they were holding something. They said, "These are the trousers, here's the coat, and this is a mantle," naming each garment. All of them are as light as a spider web. One will almost think he had nothing on, but that's what makes them so fine. "Exactly," all the noblemen agreed, though they could see nothing, for there was nothing to see. "If your imperial majesty will condescend to take your clothes off," said the swindlers, "we will help you on with your new ones here in front of the long mirror." The emperor undressed, and the swindlers pretended to put his new clothes on him, one garment after another. They took him around the waist and seemed to be fastening something. That was his train, as the emperor turned around and round before the looking glass. "How well your majesty's new clothes look. Aren't they becoming?" he heard on all sides. "That pattern, so perfect, those colors, so suitable. It is a magnificent outfit." Then the Minister of Public Processions announced, "Your Majesty's canopy is waiting outside." "Well, I'm supposed to be ready," the Emperor said, and turned again for one last look in the mirror. "It is a remarkable fit, isn't it?" He seemed to regard his costume with the greatest interest. The noblemen who were to carry his train stooped low and reached for the floor as if they were picking up his mantle. Then they pretended to lift and hold it high. They didn't dare admit they had nothing to hold. So off went the Emperor in procession under his splendid canopy. Everyone in the streets and the windows said, Oh, how fine are the emperor's new clothes! Don't they fit him to perfection? And see his long train. Nobody could confess that he couldn't see anything, for that will prove him either unfit for his position or a fool. Now costume the emperor had worn before was ever such a complete success. But he hasn't got anything on, a little child said. Did you ever hear such innocent prattle? Said the father, and one person whispered to another that the child had said. What the child had said. He hasn't anything on. A child says he hasn't anything on. But he hasn't got anything on, the whole town cried out at last. The emperor shivered, for he suspected they were right, but he thought, this procession has to go on, so he walked home more proudly than ever, as his nobleman held high the train that wasn't there at all. Okay. Every day what? Okay. Life's always what? Yes, always gay. I really love Cassiel's voice, it's super lovely. Hi Semi, welcome! I'm glad. I never knew that's how the Emperor's New Clothes story actually ended. But it's so funny how everyone didn't wanna admit. So all of them basically became the fools by not wanting to show that they were fools, basically. That was interesting. Also very different from the Disney movie. Oh, I walked out naked in public while the show was going on. Basically. Well, at least he remained proud. Okay. Let's see which one to read next. Oh my gosh, wait. The Steadfast Teen Soldier? I forgot he also did that one. Oh my god. Do you all know the story about the Teen Soldier? I used to love that one when I was a kid. I used to have these illustrated fairy tales from my grandpa, and I remember really loving that story, but it made me so sad. I don't think I know it really. There was actually some when Scaramouche video when he came out about his backstory, there were some references to the Teen Soldier. I only know about the Velveteen Rabbit. Oh, I think I've heard of that one, but I haven't read it yet. Yeah, this one is kind of sad, so. But I love this one. I'm pretty sure this one also has movies based on it. Oh, you said Teen Soldier. I thought you said Velveteen Soldier. Ah, no, Teen Soldier. That's how you pronounce it, right? I'm really sorry if I mispronounce stuff. Like I said, English is not really my first language, so I do struggle with some words. Okay, let's start now with the story, The Steadfast Teen Soldier. Wait, how long is this? Oh, that's actually not really long. Okay. There were once 25 teen soldiers. They were all brothers, born of the same old tin spoon. They shouldered their muskets and looked straight ahead of them, splendid in their uniforms, all red and blue. The very first thing in the world they heard was, "Tin soldiers!" A small boy shouted it and clapped his hands as the lid was lifted off their box on his birthday. He immediately set them up on the table. All the soldiers looked exactly alike except one. He looked a little different as he had been cast last of all. The tin was short, so he had only one leg, but there he stood, as steady on one leg as any of the other soldiers on there too. But just you see, he'll be the remarkable one. On the table with the soldiers were many other playthings, and one that no eye could miss was a marvelous castle of cardboard. It had little windows through which you could look right out inside it, and in front of the castle were miniature trees around a little mirror supposed to represent a lake. The wax swans that swam on its surface were reflected in the mirror. All this was very pretty, but prettiest of all was a little lady who stood in the open doorway of the castle. Though she was a paper doll, she wore a dress of the fluffiest gauze. A tiny blue ribbon went over her shoulder for a scarf, and in the middle of it shone a spangle that was as big as her face. The little lady held out both her arms, as a ballet dancer does, and one leg was lifted so high behind her that the tin soldier couldn't see it at all, and he supposed she must have only one leg as he did. That will be a wife for me, he thought, but maybe she's too grand. She lives in a castle. I have only a box, with 24 roommates to share it. That's no place for her, but I must try to make her acquaintance. Still as stiff as when he stood at attention, he lay down on the table behind a snuff box, where he could admire the dainty little dancer who kept standing on one leg without ever losing her balance. When the evening came, the other tin soldiers were put away in their box, and the people of the house went to bed. Now the toys began to play among themselves at visits and battles and at giving balls. The tin soldiers rattled about in their box, for they wanted to play too, but they could not get the lid open. The nutcracker turned somersaults, and the slate pencil squeaked out jokes on the slate. The toys made such a noise that they woke up the canary bird, who made them a speech. Allen birds. The only two who stayed still were the tin soldier and the little dancer. Without ever swerving from the tip of one toe, she held out her arms to him, and the tin soldier was just as steadfast on his one leg. Not once did he take his eyes off her. Then the clock struck 12, and clack! Up popped the lid of the snuff box. But there was no stuff in it. No. Out pans a little black bogey attacking the box. Tin soldier, he said, would you please keep your eyes to yourself? The tin soldier pretended not to hear. The bogey said, just you wait till tomorrow. But when morning came and the children got up, the soldier was set on the window ledge, and whether the bogey did it or there was a gust of wind, all of a sudden the window flew open, and the soldier pitched out headlong from the third floor. He fell at breathtaking speed and landed cap first, with his bayonet buried between the paving stones, and his one leg stuck straight in the air. The housemaid and the little boy ran down to look for him, and though they nearly stopped on the tin soldier, they walked right past without seeing him. If the soldier had called out, "Here I am," they would surely have found him, but he thought it contemptible to raise an uproar while he was wearing his uniform. Soon it began to rain. The drops fell faster and faster until they came down by the bucketful. As soon as the rain let up, along came two young rapscallions. "Hi, look," one of them said. "There's a tin soldier. Let's send him sailing." They made a boat out of newspaper, putting the tin soldier in the middle of it, and away he went down the gutter, with the two young rapscallions running beside him and clapping their hands. High heavens, how the waves splashed, and how fast the water ran down the gutter. Don't forget that it had just been raining by the bucketful. The paper boat pitched and tossed, and sometimes it whirled about so rapidly that it made the soldier's head spin. But he stood as steady as ever. Never once flinching, he kept his eyes front and carried his gun shoulder high. Suddenly, the boat rushed under a long plank where the gutter was boarded over. It was as dark as the soldier's own box. Where can I be going? The soldier wondered. This must be the black bogey's revenge. Ah, if only I had the little lady with me. It could be twice as dark here, for all that I will care. Out popped a great water rat, who lived under the gutter plank. Have you a passport? Said the rat. Hand it over. The soldier kept and held his musket tighter. On rushed the boat, and the rat came right after it, gnashing his teeth as he called to the sticks and straws. Hold him, stop him. He didn't pay his toll. He hasn't shown his passport. But the current ran stronger and stronger. The soldier could see daylight ahead, where the boat ended, but he also heard a roar that would frighten the bravest of us. Hold on. Right at the end of that gutter plank, the water poured into the great canal. It was as dangerous to him as a waterfall would be to us. He was so near it he could not possibly stop. The boat plunged into the whirlpool. The poor tin soldier stood as staunch as he could, and no one can say that he so much as blinked an eye. Thrice and again, the boat spun around. It filled to the top and was bound to sink. The water was up to his neck, and still the boat went down, deeper, 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 and the paper got soft and limp. Then the water rushed over his head. He thought of the pretty little dancer who he'd never see again, and in his ears rang an old song. Farewell, farewell, O warrior brave, nobody can from death thee save. Now the paper boat broke beneath him, and the soldier sank right through, and just at that moment, he was swallowed by a most enormous fish. My, how dark it was inside that fish! It was darker than the gutter plank, and it was so cramped, but the tin soldier still was stanch. He lay there full length, soldier fashion, with musket to shoulder. Then the fish flopped and floundered in a most unaccountable way. Finally, it was perfectly still, and after a while, something struck through him like a flash of lightning. The tin soldier saw daylight again, and he heard a voice say, "The tin soldier!" The fish had been caught, carried to market, bought, and brought to a kitchen, where the cook cut him open with her big knife. She picked the soldier up bodily between her two fingers, and carried him up upstairs. Everyone wanted to see this remarkable traveler, who had traveled about in a fish's stomach. But the tin soldier took no pride in it. They put him on the table, and lo and behold, what curious things can happen in this world. There he was, back in the same room as before. He saw the same children, the same toys were on the table, and there was the same fine castle with the pretty little dancer. She still balanced on one leg, with the other raised high. She too was steadfast. That touched the soldier so deeply that he would have cried in tears. Only soldiers never cry. He looked at her, and she looked at him, and never a word was said, just as things were going so nicely for them. One of the little boys snatched up the tin soldier and threw him into the stove. He did it for no reason at all. The black bogey in the snuff box must have put him up to it. The tin soldier stood there dressed in flames. He felt a terrible heat, but whether it came from the flames or from his love he didn't know. He lost his splendid colors, maybe from his hard journey, maybe from grief, nobody can say. He looked at the little lady, and she looked at him, and he felt himself melting, but still he stood steadfast, with his musket held trim on his shoulder. Then the door flew open, a puff of wind struck the dancer. She flew like a sylph, straight into the fire with the soldier, blazed up in a flash, and was gone. The tin soldier melted, all in a lump. The next day, when the servant took up the ashes, she found him in the shape of a little tin heart, but of the pretty dancer, nothing was left except her spangle, and it was burned as black as a coal. Oh, this one is so sad. Oh, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome. Yeah, indeed, this one is also sad in the end. They both they both burned to death. All that's left of the tin soldier's little heart. I can't believe I will read this as a kid. Why was this my favorite story as a kid? I guess I've always had a thing for doom love stories. I know. Are you stoic, Angel? No, I'm not. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty expressive. Belai, thank you for this, my cheese. Whispering hi and bye. Thank you for stopping by, even if it's just for a little while. Hello, hi, Sunny Angel. Haven't been here forever. Welcome. I just finished reading a very sad story. Just in time for me to start a new one. Oh, the skis icon. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for the bit. I really appreciate it. Epic. Hold on. Okay. I feel like this author has a thing for really sad fairy tales. Okay. Let me see, which other one should we read now? Hi, thank you for the headband. Wait, I just remembered. This book actually has a lace bookmark. I probably should have used that. Okay. Ooh, the Garden of Paradise. Okay. Okay, that one sounds interesting. Maybe we can come back to that one later. The Storks. The Rose Elf. Oh, I remember reading that one with Perla. Let me see. I'm trying to find The Ugly Duckling because that's the other one I really like from him. Some are very long and some are like very short. Let me see. At least you can hear the little page turn in ASMR. The Bond of Friendship. Ooh. There's one called The Angel. I love the sign of pages. Me too. There's a story called The Angel, and it's actually very short. Okay, maybe we can read this one. It's from 1843. Okay. The Angel. Every time a good child dies, an angel of God comes down to earth. He takes the child in his arms and spread out his great white wings and flies with it all over the places the child loved on earth. The angel plucks a large handful of flowers, and they carried it with them to God, where the flowers bloom more brightly than they ever did on earth. And God presses all the flowers to his bosom, but the flowers that he loves the best of all he kisses. And then the flower receives a voice and can join him in the glorious everlasting hymn of praise. You see, All this one of God's angels said as he was carrying a dead child to heaven. 2. And the child heard as if in a dream. As they passed over the places where the child used to play, they came through gardens with lovely flowers. Which flowers shall we take with us to plant in heaven? Asked the angel. And there stood a slender, beautiful rose bush. A wicked hand had broken the stem, and the branches with their large, half-open blossoms hung down withering. That poor bush, cried the child. Let's take it so that it may bloom again up there in God's garden. So the angel plucked it, then kissed the child for his tender thought, and the little child opened his eyes. They took others of the rich flowers, and even some of the despised marigolds and wild pansies. Now we have enough flowers, said the child, and the angel nodded, but they did not yet fly up upwards to God. It was night, and it was very quiet. They remained in the great city, and hovered over one of the narrowest streets, which was cluttered with straw, ashes, and refuse of all kinds. It was just after moving day, and broken plates, rags, old hats, and bits of plaster, all things that didn't look so well, lay cluttered in the street. In this rubbish, the angel pointed to the pieces of a broken flower pot and to a lump of earth that had fallen out of it. It was held together by the roots of a large, withered field flower. No one could have had any more use for it, hence it had been thrown out in the street. We shall take that with us, said the angel. As we fly onward, I will tell you about it. And as they flew, the angel told the story. Down in the narrow alley, in the dark cellar, there once lived a poor sick boy who had been bedridden since childhood. The most he could ever do, when he was feeling his best, was hobble once or twice across the little room on crutches. For only a few days in midsummer, the sunbeams could steal into his cellar for about half an hour or so. Then the little boy could warm himself and see the red blood in his thin, almost transparent fingers as he held them before his face. Then people would say, the boy has been out in the sunshine today. All he knew of the forest in the fresh breath of spring was when the neighbor's son would bring him home the first beech branch. He would hold this up over his head and pretend he was sitting in the beech woods where the sun was shining and the birds were singing. One spring day, the neighbor's boy brought him also some field flowers, and by chance, one of them had a root to it. So it was planted in a flower pot and placed in the window beside the little boy's bed. And tended by a loving hand, it grew, put out new shoots, and bore lovely flowers each year. It was a beautiful garden to a little sick boy, his one treasure on earth. He watered it and tended it, and saw that it received every sunbeam, down to the very last that managed to struggle through the dingy cellar window. The flower wove itself into his dreams. For him it flowered. It spread its fragrance and cheered his eyes, and toward it he turned his face for a last look when his heavenly Father called him. He has been with God now for a year, and for a year the flower stood withered and forgotten in the window, until one moving day it was thrown out on the rubbish heap in the street. This is the flower, the poor withered flower. We have added to our bouquet, for it has given more happiness than the richest flower in the queen's garden. The child looked up at the angel who was carrying him. But how do you know all this? He asked. I know it, said the angel, because I myself was the sick little boy who hobbled on crutches. I know my own flower very well. Then the child opened his eyes wide and looked up into the angel's beautiful happy face. And at that moment they found themselves in God's heaven, where there was everlasting joy and happiness. And God pressed the child to his bosom, and he received glorious white wings like the angels. So they flew together, hand in hand. Then God pressed all the flowers to his heart, but the poor withered field flower he kissed, and he received a voice and joined the choir of the angels who floated about God's throne. Some were near, some farther out in great circles that swept to infinity, but all were supremely happy, and they all sang, the great and the small, the good blessed child and the withered field flower that had lain so long in the rubbish heap in the dark narrow alley. Aww. Oh, I really like this one. Didn't expect the kid, the angel to be the little kid. That was really nice. I liked it. Little kids turning into angels. Wait. Okay, finally. The ugly duckling. I found it. Okay. I myself am not an angel who was a human before. I've just always been an angel. Although to be honest, when I was making my lore, I did consider maybe going that route. Hi Cass, I'm talking to Vess, I'm gonna lurk and listen. Hi Ven, welcome! Okay, thank you so much for lurking. I hope you can get some good rest. Hopefully I help you fall asleep. The Ugly Duckling is also one of my most favorite stories. Also, I used to read it as a kid. Okay. Before I start though, I do need to rest a little because my throat. I'm definitely not used to doing this. Wow, this one's also gonna be a little bit longer. Just like 3 pages. No. 1, 2. Yeah, 3, almost like 3 whole pages. Ah, thank you for the stretch, Monoji. Okay. I'm gonna need to stretch my wings, my back. Okay. There. I'm struggling a little bit trying to how do I say this? Control my voice volume, because I feel like I'm going a little bit louder at times because I'm not used to this. But hopefully it's not too loud that I don't know. You're doing great, thank you. Okay, let me just get some water also. Maybe I should have gotten a tea or something for my throat. Okay. Where are some of fairy tales that you all loved as a kid? I think mine were well, I guess I already mentioned mine. I'm trying to remember the other ones that I also used to read. I remember reading one about the girl with the donkey skin, but I'm pretty sure the version that I read as a kid was like the changed version, because I think I saw online that the original version is like more weird. More you know, I don't know if it was from Grimm's fairy tales, but it's more not weird the word, I guess. More adult, basically. This is it's also interesting to see the changes to fairy tales, and when we get like a simplified kids version, you know, like Disney ones. No, I always like fairy tales. Ooh, Hansel and Gretel, Little Red Riding Hood. I think Jack and the Beanstalk were the ones I remember the most. Yeah, I love Hansel and Gretel too. Oh, Little Red Riding Hood. I don't. I wonder. Wait, who brought that one? I'm trying to think about. Is that also from Grimm's fairy tales? Maybe. I feel like the most iconic ones were either from Hans Christian Andersen or Grimm's, the Brothers Grimm. I can't really think of other actors whose fairy tales are like super well known. Oh my god, okay, the Snow Queen is also almost here. But I don't have to read that one because that one's super long. I always wanted to read it though because of Frozen. Trying to see what others. The Shadow, the Old Duck. Okay. Okay, I think my throat is a little bit better now. I can start. The Ugly Duckling. It was so beautiful out on the country. It was summer. The wheat fields were golden, the oats were green, and down among the green meadows, the hay was stacked. There the stork minced about on his red legs, clacking away in Egyptian, which was the language his mother had taught him. Round about the field and meadowlands rose vast forests in which deep lakes lay hidden. Yes, it was indeed lovely out there in the country. In the midst of the sunshine, there stood an old manor house that had a deep moat around it. From the walls of the manor right down to the water's edge, great burdock leaves grew. And there were some so tall the little children could stand upright beneath the biggest of them. In this wilderness of leaves, which was as dense as the forest itself, a duck sat on her nest, hatching her ducklings. She was becoming somewhat weary, because sitting in such a dull business and scarcely anyone came to see her. The other ducks would much rather swim in the moat than waddle out and squat under the burdock leaf to gossip with her. But at last, the eggshells began to crack, one after another. Peep, peep, said the little things, as they came to life and poked out their heads. Quack, quack, said the duck, and quick as quick can they be they all waddle out to have a look at the green world under the leaves. Their mother let them look as much as they please, because green is good for the eyes. How wide the world is, said all the young ducks, for they certainly had much more room now than they had when they were in their eggshells. Do you think this is the whole world? Their mother asked. Why, it extends on and on, clear across to the other side of the garden, and right on into the parson's field, though that is further than I have ever been. I do hope you're all hatched, she said as she got up. No, not quite at all. The biggest egg still lies there. How much longer is this going to take? I am really rather tired of it all, she said, but she got settled back on her nest. Well, how goes it? Asked an old dog, who came to pay her a call. It takes a long time with that one egg, said the dog on the nest. It won't crack, but look at the others. They're all the cutest little ducklings I've ever seen. They look exactly like their father, the wretch. He hasn't come to see me at all. Let's have a look at the egg that won't crack, the old dog said. It's a turkey egg, and you can take my word for it. I was fooled like that once myself. What trouble and care I had with those turkey children, for I may as well tell you, they're afraid of the water. I simply could not get them into it. I quacked and snapped at them, but it wasn't a bit of use. Let me see the egg. Certainly it's a turkey egg. Let it lie, and go teach your other children to swim. Oh, I'll sit a little longer. I've been at it so long already that I may as well sit here after the summer. Suit yourself, said the old dog, and away she waddled. At last, the big egg did crack. Peep, said the young one, and out he tumbled, but he was so big and ugly. The dog took a look at him. That's a frightfully big duckling, she said. He doesn't look the least like the others. Can he really be a turkey baby? Well, I'll soon find out. Into the water he shall go, even if I have to shove him in myself. Next day, the weather was perfectly splendid, and the sun shone down on all the green burdock leaves. The mother dog led her whole family down to the moat. Splash! She took to the water. Quack, quack, said she, and one duckling after another plunged in. The water went over their heads, but they came up in a flash and floated to perfection. Their legs worked automatically, and they were all there in the water. Even the big, ugly gray one was swimming along. Why, that's no turkey, she said. See how nicely he uses his legs, and how straight he holds himself. He's my very own son after all, and quite good looking if you look at him properly. Quack, quack, come with me. I'll lead you into the world and introduce you to the dooryard, but keep close to me that you won't get stepped on, and watch out for the cat. Thus they sallied into the dooryard, where all was in an uproar because two families were fighting over the head of an eel, but the cat got it after all. You see, that's the way of the world. The mother dog licked her bill because she wanted the eel's head for herself. Steer your legs, bustle about, and mind that you bend your necks so to the old dogs over there. She's the noblest of us all, and has Spanish blood in her. That's why she's so fat. What? That's why she's so fat. See that red rag around her leg? That's a wonderful thing, and the highest distinction a dog can get. It shows that they don't want to lose her, and that she's to have a special attention for man and beast. Check yourselves. Don't turn your toes in. A well-bred duckling turns his toes way out, but as his father and mother do, this way. So then, now tuck your necks and say quack. They did as she told them, but the other dogs around them looked on and said right out loud, See here, must we have this brood too? Just as if there weren't enough of us already? And fie! What an ugly duckling fellow the duckling is. We won't stand for him. One dog charged up and bit his neck. Let him alone, his mother said. He isn't doing any harm. Possibly not, said the dog who bit him, but he's too big and strange, and therefore he needs a good whacking. What nice looking children you have, mother, said the old dog with the rag around her leg. They are all pretty except that one. He didn't come out so well. It's a pity you can't hatch him again. That can be managed, your ladyship, said the mother. He isn't so handsome, but he's as good as can be, and he swims just as well as the rest, or I should say, even a little better than they do. I hope his looks will improve with age, and after a while he won't seem so big. He took too long in the egg, and that's why his figure isn't all that it should be. She pinched his neck and pricked his feathers. Moreover, he is a drake, so it won't matter so much. I think he will be quite strong, and I'm sure he will amount to something. "The other ducklings are pretty enough," said the old duck. "Now make yourselves right at home, and if you find an eel's head, you may bring it to me." So they felt quite at home, but the poor duckling who had been the last one out of his egg, and who had looked so ugly, was pecked and pushed about and made fun of by the ducks and the chickens as well. "He's too big," said the owl. The turkey gobbler, who thought himself an emperor because he was born wearing spurs, puffed up like a ship under full sail and bore down upon him, gobbling and gobbling until he was red in the face. The poor duckling did not know where he dare stand or where he dare walk. He was so sad because he was so desperately ugly, and because he was the laughingstock of the whole barnyard. So he went on the first day, and after that, things went from bad to worse. The poor duckling was chased and buffeted about by everyone. Even his own brothers and sisters abused him. "Oh," they will always say, "how we wish the cow would catch you, you ugly thing." And his mother said, "How I do wish you were miles away." The ducks nipped him, and the hens pecked him, and the girl who fed him kicked him with her foot. So he ran away, and he flew over the fence. The little birds in the bushes started up in a fright. "That's because I'm so ugly," he thought, and closed his eyes. But he ran on just the same until he reached the great marsh where the wild ducks lived. There he lay all night long, weary and disheartened. When morning came, the wild ducks flew up to have a look at their new companion. "What sort of creature are you?" they asked, as the duckling turned in all directions, bowing his best to them all. "You're terribly ugly," they told him, "but that's nothing to us so long as you don't marry into our family." Poor duckling, marriage certainly had never entered his mind. All he wanted was for them to let him lie among the reeds and drink a little water from the marsh. There he stayed for 2 whole days. Then he met 2 wild geese, or rather wild ganders, for they were males. They had not been out of the shell very long, and that's what made them so sure of themselves. "Say there, comrade," they said, "you're so ugly that we have taken a fancy to you. Come with us and be a bird of passage. In another marsh nearby, there are some fetching wild geese, all nice young ladies who know how to quack. You're so ugly that you completely turn their heads." Bing bang! Shots rang in the air, and those 2 ganders fell dead among the reeds. The water was red with their blood. Bing bang! The shots rang, and as a whole flock of wild geese flew up from the reeds, another bullet crashed. A great hunt was in progress. The hunters lay under cover all around the marsh, and some even perched on branches of trees that overhung the reeds. Blue smoke rose like clouds from the shade of the trees and drifted far over the water. The bird dogs came splash splash through the swamp, bending down the reeds and the rushes on every side. This gave the poor duckling such a fright that he twisted his head about to hide it under his wing. But at that very moment, a fearful big dog appeared right beside him, his tongue lolling out of his mouth, and his wicked eyes glared horribly. He opened his wide jaws, flashed his sharp teeth, and splash splash, on he went without touching the duckling. "Thank heavens," he sighed, "I'm so ugly that the dog won't even bother to bite me." He lay perfectly still, while the bullets splattered through the reeds, as shot after shot was fired. It was late in the day before things became quiet again, and even then the poor duckling didn't dare move. He waited several hours before he ventured to look about him. Then he scurried away from the marsh as fast as he could. He ran across fields and meadows. The wind was so strong that he had to struggle to keep his feet. Late in the evening, he came to a miserable little hovel, so ramshackle that he did not know which way to tumble. And that was the only reason it still stood. The wind struck the duckling so hard that the poor little fellow had to sit down on his tail to withstand it. The storm blew stronger and stronger, but the duckling noticed that one hinge had come loose and the door hung so crooked that he could squeeze through the crack into the room. And that's just what he did. Here lived an old woman with her cat and her hen. The cat, whom she called Sonny, could arch his back, purr, and even make sparks, though for that you had to stroke his fur the wrong way. The hen had short little legs, so she was called Cheeky Shortleg. She laid good eggs, and the old woman loved her as she had been her own child. In the evening, they were quick to notice a strange duckling. The cat began to purr, so the hen began to cluck. What on earth? The old woman looked around, but she was short-sighted, and she mistook the duckling for a fat dog that had lost his way. That was a good catch, she said. Now I shall have dog eggs, unless it's a trick. We must try it out. So the duckling was tired out for 3 weeks, but not one egg did he lay. In this house, the cat was master and the hen was mistress. They always said, we and the world, for they thought themselves half of the world, and much the better half at that. The duckling thought that there might be more than one way of thinking, but the hen would not hear of it. Can you lay eggs? She asked. No. Then be so good as to hold your tongue. The cat asked. Can you arch your back, purr, and make sparks? No. Then you keep your opinions unto yourself, when sensible people are talking. The duckling sat in a corner, feeling most despondent. Then he remembered the fresh air and the sunlight. Such a desire to go swimming on the water possessed him that he would not help telling the hen about it. What on earth has come over you? The hen cried. You haven't a thing to do, and that's why you get such silly notions. Lay us an egg, or learn to purr, and you'll get over it. It's so refreshing to float on the water, said the duckling. So refreshing to feel it rise over your head as you dive to the bottom. Yes, it must be a great pleasure, said the hen. I think you must have gone crazy. Ask the cat, who's the wisest fellow I know, whether he likes to swim or dive down in the water. Of myself, I say nothing, but ask the old woman or mistress. There's no one on earth wiser than she is. Do you imagine she wants to go swimming and feel the water rise over her head? You don't understand me, said the duckling. Well, if we don't, who would? Surely you don't think you're cleverer than the cat and the old woman, to say nothing of myself. Don't be so conceited, child. Just thank your maker for all the kindness we have shown you. Didn't you get into the snug room and fall in with people who can tell you what's what? But you are such a numbskull that it's no pleasure to have you around. Believe me, I tell you this for your own good. I say unpleasant truth, but that's the only way you can know who are your friends. Be sure now that you lay some eggs. See to it that you learn to purr or to make sparks. I think I better go out into the wide world, said the duckling. Suit yourself, said the hen. So off went the duckling. He swam on the water and dived down in it, but still he was slighted by every living creature because of his ugliness. Autumn came. The leaves in the forest turned yellow and brown. The wind took them and whirled them about. The heavens looked cold as the low clouds hung heavy with snow and hail. Perched on the fence, the raven screamed, caw, caw, and trembled with cold. It made one shiver to think of it. Pity the poor little duckling. One evening, just as the sun was settling in splendor, a great flock of large, handsome birds appeared out of the reeds. The duckling had never seen birds so beautiful. They were dazzling white, with long, graceful necks. They were swans. They uttered a very strange cry as they unfurled their magnificent wings to fly from the cold land, away to warmer countries and to open waters. They went up so high, so very high, that the ugly little duckling felt a strange uneasiness come over him as he watched them. He went around and around in the water like a wheel. He craned his neck to follow their course and gave a cry so shrill and strange that he frightened himself. Oh! He could not forget them, those splendid happy birds. When he could no longer see them, he dived to the very bottom, and when he came up again, he was quite beside himself. He did not know what birds they were, or whither they were bound, yet he loved them more than anything he had ever loved before. It was not that he envied them, for how could he dare dream of wanting their marvelous beauty for himself? He would have been grateful if only the dogs would have tolerated him. the poor ugly creature. The winter grew cold, so bitterly cold that the duckling had to swim to and fro in the water to keep from freezing over. But every night, the hole in which he swam kept getting smaller and smaller. Then it froze so hard that the duckling had to paddle continuously to keep the crackling ice from closing in upon him. At last, too tired to move, he was frozen fast in the ice. Early that morning, a farmer came by, and when he saw how things were, he went out on the pond, broke away the ice with his wooden shoe, and carried the duckling home to his wife. There the duckling revived, but when the children wished to play with him, he thought they meant to hurt him. Terrified, he floated into the milk pail, splashing the whole room with milk. The woman shrieked and threw up her hands as he flew into the butter tub, and then in and out of the milk barrel. Imagine what he looked like now. The woman screamed and lashed out at him with the fire tongues. The children tumbled over each other as they tried to catch him, and they laughed and they shouted. Luckily the door was open, and the duckling escaped through it into the bushes, where he lay down in the newly fallen snow as if in a daze. But it will be too sad to tell of all the hardships and wretchedness he had to endure during this cruel winter. When the warm sun shone once more, the duckling was still alive among the reeds of the marsh. The larks began to sing again. It was beautiful springtime. Then, quite suddenly, he lifted his wings. They swept through the air much more strongly than before, and their powerful strokes carried him far. Before he quite knew what was happening, he found himself in a great garden where apple trees bloomed. The lilacs filled the air with a sweet scent and hung in clusters from long, green branches that bent over a winding stream. Oh, but it was lovely here in the freshness of spring. From the thicket before him came 3 lovely white swans. They ruffled their feathers and swam lightly in the stream. The duckling recognized these noble creatures, and a strange feeling of sadness came upon him. I shall fly near these royal birds, and they will peck me to bits because I, who am so very ugly, dare to go near them. But I don't care. Better be killed by them than to be snipped by the ducks, pecked by the hens, kicked out by the hen-yard girl, or suffer such misery in winter. So he flew into the water and swam towards the splendid swans. They saw him and swept down upon him with their rustling feathers raised. "Kill me," said the poor creature, and he bowed his head down over the water to wait for death. But what did he see there, mirroring the clear stream? He beheld his own image, and it was no longer the reflection of a clumsy, dirty, grey bird, ugly and offensive. He himself was a swan. Being born in a dockyard does not matter, if only you are hatched from a swan's leg. He felt quite glad that he had come through so much trouble and misfortune, for now he had a fuller understanding of his own good fortune and of beauty when he met with it. The great swans swam all around him and struck him with their bills. Several little children came into the garden to throw grain and bits of bread upon the water. The smallest child cried, "Here's a new one," and the others rejoiced, "Yes, a new one has come." They clapped their hands, danced around, and ran to ring their father and mother. And they threw bread and cake upon the water, while they all agreed, "The new one is the most handsome of all. He's so young and so good looking." The old swans bowed in his honor. Then he felt very bashful and tucked his head under his wing. He did not know what this was all about. He felt so very happy, but he wasn't at all proud, for a good heart never grows proud. He thought about how he had been persecuted and scorned, and now he heard them all call him the most beautiful of all beautiful birds. The lilacs dipped their clusters into the stream before him, and the sun shone so warm and so heartening. He rustled his feathers and held his slender neck high as he cried out with a full heart, "I never dreamed there could be so much happiness when I was the ugly duckling." Aww. That was so sad. Pobrecito. What were they? They really treated him so badly. I wasn't expecting that. I like this setup. Thank you so much. No, poor duckling, right? Well, I didn't remember this part of the story. Me neither. I guess the children's version took away a lot more details, because this is kind of traumatic. Like, they really traumatized this poor little duckling. I feel so bad for him. What did he do to deserve this? He didn't do anything. He was just ugly, and they were all abusing him, like emotionally and physically. What? It was kind of darker than I expected. Princess Tutu. Literally, I was thinking about that when I started the story. I was thinking of Princess Tutu. The pain, I know. Gosh. Poor little duckling. Well, at least in the end he was happy, despite all he went through. Also, it's a shame he was only happy because he was not ugly anymore. Kind of makes me wonder what the lesson of the story is. Pobrecito. Yes, swans. I love swans. They're one of my favorite birds. So that's why I think that's why I used to like the story so much as a kid, because I've always been drawing swans. Is there an actual like adaptation of the story? I wonder. Besides Princess Tutu, I guess. Although Princess Tutu is more a combination of many fairy tales. Oh yeah, the Snow Queen. But no, this one's super long. I don't think I'll be reading it today. I wanna focus more like short ones. So have some page turning ASMR while I'm looking for other one. The Elder Tree Mother. The Elf Mound. The red shoes. Wait, he also did the red shoes? I'm surprised. I think I already read this one though. And Perla Stream, maybe. Holger Danske. What does that mean? The Bell. Grandmother. The Darning Needle. The Little Match Girl. Oh my god. Wait, have y'all know that one? The Little Match Girl. Y'all, I remember my mom got me a DVD of The Little Mermaid, because it's my favorite, one of my favorite Disney movies. And I remember, you know how back in the day when we had DVDs, they will have like a lot of extra stuff on that you could look through. I remember The Little Mermaid had this little animation of the Little Match Girl. Before that, I never knew the story. I honestly don't even know why it was there, why it was included in that DVD. But I watched it, and I swear I cried so much every time I watched that little animation. I cried so much. Oh my god, I really recommend it if y'all can like look it up sometime. It's very, very sad. It sounds familiar. Maybe I wonder maybe you've seen that one. I don't know if that one has been like shown in another like a adaptation or something. I just know that one. But yeah, it's honestly very sad. Okay, let me see how long is this one. Oh, it's actually super short. Okay. This is a lot shorter than I expected. Get ready for sadness. This is just like the animation that I saw. We'll see. I am ready. Good. Okay. The Little March Girl. It was so terribly cold. Snow was falling and it was almost dark. Evening came on, the last evening of the year. In the cold and gloom, a poor little girl, bareheaded and barefoot, was walking through the streets. Of course, when she had left her house, she had slippers on. But what good had they been? They were very big slippers, way too big for her, for they belonged to her mother. The little girl had lost them running across the road, where two carriages had rattled by terribly fast. One slipper she'd not been able to find again, and the boy had run off with the other, saying he could use it very well as a cradle someday when he had children of his own. And so the little girl walked on her naked feet, which were quite red and blue with the cold. In an old apron, she carried several packages of matches, and she held a box of them in her hand. No one had bought any from her all day long, and no one had given her a cent. Shivering with cold and hunger, she crept along, a picture of misery. Poor little girl. The snowflakes fell on her long fair hair, which hung in pretty curls over her neck. In all the windows, lights were shining, and there was a wonderful smell of roast goose. For it was New Year's Eve. Yes, she thought of that. In a corner formed by two houses, one of which projected farther out into the street than the other, she sat down and drew up her little feet under her. She was getting colder and colder, but did not dare to go home, for she had sold no matches, nor earned a single cent, and her father would surely beat her. Besides, it was cold as home, for they had nothing over them but a roof through which the wind whistled even through the biggest cracks had been stuffed with straw and rags. Her hands were almost dead with cold. Oh, how much one little match might warm her! If she could only take one from a box and rub it against the wall and warm her hands. She drew one out. Wretch! How it sputtered and burned! It made a warm, bright flame, like a little candle, as she held her hands over it, but it gave a strange light. It really seemed to the little girl as if she were sitting before a great iron stove with shining brass knobs and a brass cover. How wonderfully the fire burned! How comfortable it was! The youngster stretched out her feet to warm them too. Then the little flame went out, the stove vanished, and she had only the remains of the burnt match in her hand. She struck another match against the wall. It burned brightly, and when the light fell upon the wall, it became transparent like a thin veil, as she could see through it into a room. On the table, a snow-white cloth was spread, and on it stood a shining dinner service. The roast goose steamed gloriously, stuffed with apples and prunes, and what was still better, the goose jumped down from the dish and rolled along the floor with a knife and fork in its breast, right over to the little girl. Then the match went out, and she could see only the thick, cold wall. She lighted another match. Then she was sitting under the most beautiful Christmas tree. It was much larger and much more beautiful than the one she had seen last Christmas, to the glass door at the rich merchant's home. Thousands of candles burned on the green branches, and colored pictures like those in the print shops looked down at her. The little girl reached both her hands toward them. Then the match went out, But the Christmas lights mounted higher. She saw them now as bright stars in the sky. One of them fell down, forming a long line of fire. Now someone is dying, thought the little girl, for her grandmother, the only person who had loved her and who was now dead, had told her that when a star fell down, a soul went up to God. She rubbed another match against the wall. It became bright again, and in the glow, the old grandmother stood clear and shining, kind and lovely. "Grandmother," cried the child, "oh, take me with you. I know you will disappear when the matches burn out. You will vanish like the warm stove, the wonderful rose goose, and the beautiful big Christmas tree." And she quickly stroked the whole bundle of matches, for she wished to keep her grandmother with her. And the matches burned with such a glow that they became brighter than daylight. Grandmother had never been so grand and beautiful. She took the little girl in her arms, and both of them flew in brightness and joy above earth, very, very high, and up there was neither cold, nor hunger, nor fear. They were with God. But in the corner, leaning against the wall, sat a little girl with red cheeks and smiling mouth, frozen to death on the last evening of the old year. The New Year's sun rose upon a little pathetic figure. The child sat there, stiff and cold, holding the matches, of which one bundle was almost burned. She wanted to warm herself, the people said. No one imagined what beautiful things she had seen, and how happily she had gone with her old grandmother into the bright new year. I told you all, it's really sad. Let me. Also, I've got a 0 as this stream. Yay! Good. Hold on. That was so painful, right? The animation honestly is even more painful, like a ball the first time I watched it. You know, let me look for it. I'm gonna link it on the chat. Hold on. Maybe I can find it on YouTube. Let me see. Yeah, Disney. Where is it? Is it this one? No. Well, it is this one. What is a trailer though? Okay, yeah, it's this. I'm pretty sure it's this one. Wait, no, never mind. Where? Why is it so hard to find? Okay, yes, definitely. It's definitely not on YouTube, apparently. I guess because it's like a Disney, I guess because it's like a Disney short animation, that's why it's not on YouTube. But if y'all wanna find it yourselves, let me just show you which one it is, because I kind of get like more than one. Which girl? I can barely type. Wait, I did find it. Okay, it wasn't on YouTube though. It's not on YouTube. But here in the library, we support piracy by big companies. Just don't tell God about it. But if you wanna watch it yourself, it's this one. It's like 6 minutes long. Yes. Yeah, it's very short, but it's very short. But it's so sad. So if you wanna watch it later. I really recommend it. But definitely, if you thought the story was sad, watching it is honestly even more painful. I don't even know if I could watch it again. It's been so long. But I remember back then, whenever I would watch it on my DVD, I would cry. Okay. Okay, hold on. Oh my god, this chair is so uncomfortable. Okay. Let's see what other story we can read now. A view from Barto's window. The old street lamp. Neighboring families. We'll talk. The shadow. I want to see if I can find another one that I recognize or that catches my interest. The story of a mother. The flax. What's a flax? Phoenix bird. Puppet showman. That one sounds interesting. The silent book. Oh. Okay, silent book sounds interesting. I'll see if I go back to it, since I'm pretty sure too. See if Old Tombstone, Swan's Nest, Story of the Year. Kinda makes me wonder if any other of his stories had been like adapted. Or is it only like the most famous ones? Under the Willow Tree. Five Peas from a Pod. She was good for nothing. Wow. He does have a lot of stories that has to do with God and angels, I guess. I shouldn't be surprised since he was either Christian or Catholic from what I remember. Okay. Okay, there's two I never heard of, but I'm curious to read. They seem to be pretty short anyway. One is called The Silent Book and the other one A Leaf from Heaven. So first I'm gonna read The Silent Book because that one came before. And I think it's a lot shorter. The Silent Book. On the high road in the forest, there stood a lonely farmhouse. The road passed right through its courtyard. All the windows were open to the warm sun. Within the house, there was bustling life, but out in the yard, under an arbor of blooming lilacs, there rested an open coffin. The dead man had been carried to it, and then this morning he was to be buried. There was no one to stand by the coffin and look down in sorrow at the dead, and no one to shed a tear over him. A white cloth covered his face, and under his head lay a great thick book. Its leaves formed of whole sheets of grey paper, and beneath each hot leaf there lay withered flowers, kept close and hidden, so that the book was really a complete herbarium, gathered in many different places. His request had been that the book be buried with him, for each flower had formed a chapter in his life. "Who is a dead man?" we asked, and the answer was, "The old student of Uppsala. They say he was once a brilliant man who knew foreign languages and could sing and write songs too. But it was also said that something went wrong with him, and he wasted his thoughts and himself in drinking. Finally, when his health was gone, he came out here to the country, where some kindly person paid his board and lodging. He was as gentle as a child, but when his dark moods came on him, he became as strong as a giant and ran about in the forest like a haunted beast. But if we could manage to get him home and persuade him to open the book with the withered flowers, he would sit quietly all day long, looking at one flower after another, and often the tears rolled down his cheeks. God only knows what thoughts those flowers brought back to him. But he begged that the book be laid in the coffin with him, so there it is. In a little while we'll nail the lid down, and then he will have his sweet rest on the grave." We lifted up the cloth. There was a peaceful look on the face of the dead man. A ray of sunshine flickered across it. A swallow darted swiftly into the arbor and wheeled rapidly to rear about the dead man's head. Surely we all know the strange feeling when we take out old letters of our youth and read them. All the hopes and sorrows of our lives seem to rise up before us again. How many of those who we then knew and were on intimate terms with are dead to us now? Yet they are still alive, although for a long time they had not been in our thoughts. Those who we once thought we should cling to forever and share their joys and sorrows. The faded oak leaf in that silent book is a memento of a friend, the school friend who was to remain a friend for life. He himself had fastened that leaf in the student's cap in the green forest long ago, when that lifelong bond of friendship was made. Where is that friend now? The leaf is kept, no bond, broken. Here is a foreign hothouse plant, far too tender for the gardens of the north. Its fresh odor seemed to cling to it still. The daughter of a noble house gave it to him out of her own garden. Here's a water lily that he himself plucked and watered with his bitter tears, a water lily of sweet waters. And what do the leaves of this needle tells us? What were his thoughts when he plucked it and laid it away? Here are lilies of the valley from the dark solitudes of the forest, honeysuckle from the taproom flower pot, and here the sharp burr grass braid. Gently, the blooming lilac bends its fresh and fragrant clusters over the dead man's head. The swallow darts by again. Quivet, quivet. Now the men come with nails and comber, the little slate over the dead, who rests his head silently on the silent book, hidden, forgotten. Aww. This one was sad. I always wanted to have press flowers on books. I haven't tried that before. I need to look into how you do that. Yeah. I've seen people to like make their own bookmarks with dry flowers. It seems so pretty. I need to figure out how to do it so I can make my own bookmarks, because I'm always losing my bookmarks. I'm so bad at, because since I'm always reading something new and then I just read something else, I end up losing my bookmarks because I forget the book I was reading after a while. So yeah, that's why I'm always looking for new bookmarks everywhere, every time I go somewhere. So maybe cheaper to make my own. definitely want to make bookmark merch sometime. Once I figure out how to make them. I used to walk home from elementary school and I picked flowers along the way to give to my mom once I got home. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. I wish I could get flowers from someone, and I don't know, it would be more special to make dried flowers from that. Yes, please, bookmark merch. Yes. I definitely want to. I just don't really know how artists make those really pretty gold ones. Have you seen those? I think I mentioned on Twitter the other day. It's like gold, like kind of like metallic gold ones, and they look so pretty. But I don't think I have really. Okay, wait. Let me look for one. Hold on. Let me look for one. What I'm thinking of. Gold bookmark. Actually, I have one like that of Venti, but I've seen like many others. Artists that many artists make. So that's why I've been wanting one like that. Wait, okay, yeah, this one. Okay, let me see. Yeah, it's like this one. See, something like that. I will really love to have. Imagine like me like this and like the little pollito instead of the wisp. That would be so cute. I think you can find a way to do it. Wait, I wonder, is it like a website maybe? Like I see so many amazing artists making their merch for stuff, and I'm like, how do you do it? Tell me your secrets. It's so pretty, right? It will be so perfect. Although it also makes me wonder how much it will cost. It's probably not very cheap. The other merch that I would love to have, that I'm also trying to figure out how people let me see if I can find. I've seen corpo VTubers have it, but I'm also seeing like people make like for different characters. So I'm like, there's definitely a manufacturer or something that must make them. But I need to figure out how they make it. Cause I will, if I got like a plushie, I would love to have that one. Yo, let me show it. Look. Ah, that's too big. Yeah, something like this one that I've seen like corporate VTubers have. I would love to have like a little plushie like that. Cause they're so cute. Reminds me of my little Benty one. I just wish I could know how people, if there's like a manufacturer or something that can make them. Cause I know Bug Race makes plushies, but it's more like the ones that you have to buy the clothes off. And I'm looking for something more like this instead, because I feel like having to get like different clothes for it, I guess, will be an option, but Maybe it will be easier, more simple, something like this. Tiny Cassie take on adventures, yes. Yeah, cause the one I find that you can do a bug race is like kind of like the one that I have, but smaller. Well, I guess you can also make like they also have the option for the one that I have, but I feel like that one's too much. I want something smaller. Where are they? Oh, that one's cute. Kind of like that. Where is it? I could put book race. I can't type. Where is it? Okay, book race. Stickers. Oh, pillows. Well, they really have a lot of stuff on book race. I never bought from them before. Because I feel like it's kind of expensive. Okay, yeah, I think it's this one. 10. Well, they do have like a little different sizes. But I just don't like that they don't have clothes. I wanted to have like the clothes. I think it's like this one. Let me find it. Yeah, okay. I think it's like that one. Let me see. Yeah, like this ones. They have like the big version and they have like the tiny version that you can for custom ones, but these are the ones that you can whoa, big, yeah. The one that I have for myself, I feel like it's kind of similar to the big one, but maybe smaller. But that one is like very, very tiny, like 10 centimeters. And but yeah, I just don't really like that is a type that you have to get clothes on. I think that's why I want like the other one, because like the clothes are already like, even though you can really take them off, but it's more like simplified, I guess. It's why I just don't know how people where to even get those, because that's not an option in Vogue Race. Oh wait, they also have, hold on. I also noticed that they do have what are they called? Manju plushes? But I don't know if I really want that. The Manju plushes, have you seen those? I only have I haven't seen them like on from different characters. And they also have the little mochi ones too. But I don't feel like it will really fit me though. That's why. But we'll see. I will have to research. Do more research for merchandise. And I also keep forgetting to sell the remaining keychains that I have. I need to do that sometime. But okay, I was actually thinking I wanna sell stickers and probably the standee. So maybe I'm gonna wait so I could do like maybe get more stuff ready, so when I launch my kitchens again, maybe I could also like do like a little bundle and stuff, different bundles. Yeah. Yes. I have so many ideas. Okay. Yes, a little bundle. I also want to get like a different photo card. It's like I want to get a little photo card of my biblically accurate form. I just need to check if the art is still available, so there can be like different more stuff to offer. Yeah. So, well, like I said, I have some experience from selling merch. When I was when I used to table accounts, so I do have some merch that I used to do that I kind of also have ideas I wanna sell eventually. I just need to figure out how to design it, like notepads, notebook, and stickers, like a sticker sheet or just stickers by itself. I just need to find new people, because I think the people that I used to get stuff from back then, they're all they're not active anymore. Some of them kind of got called out because so I need to find new manufacturers. I'm probably gonna ask my friend, because she still sells at cons, so she probably knows who some people. It didn't know. Yay. Yeah, it will not just fit me, of course. I wanna do like pollito merch, you know, like eat like both with me with my pollitos and stuff. See, I just got so many ideas that I wanna do. I just need to like actually plan for it and actually pollito world domination. Yes, pollito everywhere. Imagine the pollitos like Sanrio. You will just see the pollitos everywhere. No more Hello Kitty, just pollitos. Yes, it will be me and the pollitos. We are the new Hello Kitty. But yeah, those are my ideas. I should probably write it down, because I'm so used to like having ideas for stuff, but then I just keep it on my head. I just never write down anything and then I forget about it. Which is bad. This happens also when I think of like story ideas, or from my OCs and things. I just never write down anything. My bad memory. But then also, I don't know. sometimes I get like a notebook for writing things down, and then I forget about it. So I don't know. I wish I could find something that I will think like this is a place where I write down anything that I need and anything that comes to my mind. Maybe I should get a new notebook. Me buying a million notebooks as usual and then abandoning them. Why am I like this? Okay. I love writing things down and fitting into the frameworks. Really? I need to do that. I need to. I don't know, I guess I just like every time I get a new book I just feel bad writing on it. Which I know I shouldn't. Because what's the point of having a notebook that you never write on? So I need to stop like treating them like that and actually use them for what I want them to. Okay. Next story. You can do it, thank you. Maybe later I'll the bad thing is that a lot of my notebooks kinda got ruined because there's been some problems with the AC in my room. I keep dripping water and it kind of ruined some notebooks. Also some old sketchbooks. I just had to throw out some today, which make me sad. Yeah, I know. Rest in peace, exactly. So I'm gonna see if I can look for a new notebook for writing stuff down. I have so many stuff on my back though. Well, there's more like I have my notebook for stream ideas, my agenda, and my reading journal. So I already have like a bunch of stuff in my bag. It's getting very heavy. So hopefully I can fit another one in there. Okay. Time to read another story. And apparently it's also about angels. Let's see. It's called A Leaf from Heaven. High up in thin, clear air, there flew an angel bearing a flower from the garden of heaven. As he kissed it, a tiny leaf drifted down into the muddy soil in the middle of the wood. It very soon took root there, and sprouted, and sent up shoots among the other plants. That's a funny kind of slip, said the plants. And neither the thistle nor the stinging needle will have anything to do with the stranger. It must be some low kind of garden plant, they said, grinning and making fun at it. But it grew and grew, and like no other plant, its long branches spread far about. Where do you think you're going? Said the tall thistles, who have thorns on each of their leaves. You're taking a good deal of space. That's a lot of nonsense. We can't stand here and support you. When winter came, the snow covered the plant, but from it the blanket of snow received a glow, as if the sun were shining from below. Then the spring returned, and the plant was in glorious bloom, more beautiful than any other in the forest. And now there came to the forest a professor of botany, who could show what he was with many degrees. He carefully inspected the plant and tested it, but decided it was not included in his system of botany. He could not possibly learn to what class it did belong. This must be some important variety, he said. I certainly don't know it. It's not included in any system. Not included in any system, said the thistles and the needles. The big trees which grew around it heard what was said, and they also saw that tree was not one of their kind, but they said nothing, good or bad. And that is much the wisest course of stupid people for stupid people to take. Then a poor innocent girl came through the forest. Her heart was pure, and her understanding was glorious with faith. Her only inheritance was an old Bible, but from its pages, the voice of God spoke to her. If people wish to do you evil, remember the story of Joseph. They had evil in their hearts, but God turned it to good. If you suffer wrong, if you are despised and misunderstood, then you must remember the words of Him who was purity and goodness itself, and who prayed for those who struck Him and nailed Him to the cross. Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. She stopped before the wondrous plant, whose great leaves gave forth sweet and refreshing fragrance, and whose flowers glowed in the sun like a wonderful firework of color. And from each flower there came a sound as though it held concealed within itself a deep well of melody that thousands of years would not empty. With devout gratitude, the girl gazed on this exquisite work of the Creator, and bent down one of the branches, that she might examine the flower and breathe in its sweetness, and a lovely light burned in her soul. It seemed to uplift her heart, and she wanted to pluck a flower, but she had not the heart to rake one off, for she knew it would soon fade if she did. So she took only a single green leaf, carried it home, and there she pressed it between the pages of her Bible, and it lay there quite fresh, always green and never fading. It was kept in the pages of the Bible, and with that Bible it was placed under the girl's head when, some weeks thereafter, she lay in her coffin. On her gentle face was a solemn pace of death, as if the earthly remains carried the imprint of the truth that she now was in the presence of her Creator. But the marvelous plant still bloomed in the forest. It looked almost like a great tree now, and all the birds of passage, especially the storks and the swallows, bowed down before it. That thing is taking on foreign airs now, said the thistles and the burdocks. We never act like that here in this country. And the black forest snails spat at the plant. Then the swineherd came, collecting thistles and other shrubs, to burn them for their ashes. He tore up the heavenly plant by the roots, and crammed it into his bag. I can use that too, he said, and no sooner said than done. But for years the king of that country had been troubled by a deep melancholy of spirit. He kept busy and laborious always, but it seemed to do him no good. They read books to him, deep and learned tomes, or the lightest, most trifling they could find, but nothing did any good. Then one of the world's wisest men, to whom they had applied for help, sent a messenger to explain to the king that there was but one sure remedy that would relieve and cure him. In a forest in the king's own country there grows a plant of heavenly origin. Its appearance cannot be mistaken, and then the messenger brought out a drawing of the plant. It will be easy to recognize it. Its leaves are green winter and summer, so every evening put a fresh leaf on the king's forehead. His thoughts will then clear, and a beautiful dream will refresh and strengthen him. I think I took it up in my bundle and burned it to ashes a long time ago, said the swineherd. I just didn't know any better. You did not know any better, they all said. Ignorance, oh ignorance, how great you are. And those words the swineherd might well take to heart, for they were mean for him and no one else. Not a single leaf of that plant could be found. No one knew about the one leaf that lay in the coffin of the dead girl. And the king himself, in his terrible depression, wandered out to the spot in the woods. This is where the plant grew, he said. It shall be a sacred place. Then he had it surrounded by a golden railing, and a sentry was posted there, by day and by night. The professor of botany wrote a thesis on the heavenly plant. As a reward, he was gilded all over, and that gilding suited him and his family very well indeed. As a matter of fact, that was the pleasantest part of the whole story, for the plant had disappeared. The king remained as melancholy and sad as before, but then he had always been that way, said the sentry. Hi, thank you so much for this for following. Welcome to the vlog. Okay, hold on. Angels galore, yes. Oh wait, thank you for this Muchi Lucius. I'm sorry I didn't see it. I was too locked in. Oh, the hugs. You're the biggest hugger, Monochi. Good, good. Notice me, Yoshi. Hi. Of course I notice you. Patting your head. Try my best to. Oh, she noticed. Okay. Oh, my throat. I feel like every time I read one of the fairy tales that had to do with God, I feel like I'm actually reading from the Bible. Imagine. Maybe one day I should do ASMR Bible reading. That would be something. Although it makes me want, I don't know if the Bible stories are suited for Twitch. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. Hold on. My boys. Okay. Yum yum yum. Awa. The little dance, that's so cute. My water bottle in front of my book. Okay, let's see what other story we can find. Sounds interesting. Oh, he really wrote so many stories. Meanwhile, I can't even write something small. Lisbeth. Wait, what happened? Why is there bombs everywhere? Oh my gosh! Wait, thank you so much for the raid! Hi, Seraphim! Boo. Hi, welcome! How you doing? I'm good! Doing my first ASMR stream. I was just looking for another story to read though. That's why it was quiet. Welcome raiders. Hello, hi Seraphim, welcome. Thank you so much for the raid. Oh, thank you for the follow. Angelic, hi. Oh yeah, for those who don't know me, I'm Cassiel Aurelius, an archangel librarian. This is my holy library. I like playing cozy horror games, talking about books and reading a lot. And well, this is my first ASMR stream, and I'm reading some fairy tales today by the author of The Little Mermaid. So I'm kind of my throat. I'm kind of hurting my throat because I never done this before. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoy your stay here. Thank you so much. I said you were playing wet fishing, right? Oh, I missed that game. I want to play it again. You have a lovely voice for it. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Oh, thank you for the headband. Yeah, it's mainly me just reading fairy tales, and I guess a little bit of ASMR from flipping my book pages. We should play it on Sunday together. Oh my gosh. I wish I could do Sunday though, because I'm busy, but I definitely want to play some time with you guys. I'm just sad every time. I've been wanting to tell you all on the comment to call up again, but I've been so busy lately. Hopefully sometime next month we can do another collab together. I see headpad. I click headpad. Good. I'm gonna go to bed, but good on everyone, including Cass this time. I'm sorry. Okay, good see. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you sleep well. Night night. But yeah, I'm so sad. I'm so busy, especially this coming week, because of a lot of irrealized stuff. I probably just gonna be able to just stream once. But hopefully we can plan something for next month. I really want to. Also, we wanted to play Peak again. I only got to play it once, but I really enjoyed it. The mode is almost over, right? It went by so fast. I'm always down to play Peak with you. Yay! I need to start. I need to figure out my schedule for next month. Hopefully, I don't have too much irrealized stuff holding me back, so we can plan something. I'm so bad at Peak though. the one time that I play, keep getting lost. Well, I hope we can figure something out. I want to collab with everyone in the comment. Yes! Oh my gosh, it would be so fun with everyone. I think the only time like every single one of us did a collab was when we played what's it called? Oh my god, I'm completely blanking. Yeah, we did do like one collab once with everyone, but now there's new members in the convent. It would be so fun to play like every single one. I will one day become VTuber, but my laziness is real. I get that. Sometimes I like, how did I even make everything to become a VTuber? It's a little bit of work, but it pays off, honestly. It's I personally really enjoy it. Yeah, you can like get up sometimes, yeah. Like of course it's not always great. It depends, but overall I really like VTubing. I feel like it's a really great way to express yourself. And I don't know. I guess I really enjoy content creating, even if it's a lot of work sometimes. I still never do clips or anything. I need to work on editing my clips. But yeah, I even just start with something like easy, like at least getting like a PNG tuber and stuff. It's a great way to start. And you can find a lot of like free resources for overlays and stuff. At least becoming a VTuber nowadays is a lot easier than before, from what I've heard. I think about my old PNG that I made myself. It was so ugly. Oh gosh. Oh yeah, I was trying to look for the next story to read. Let me see. Oh yeah, and if you all need to get need to read or run, get some rest, you're more than welcome to. It's probably tiring streaming for a while, but I really appreciate you all coming here, and I hope you'll enjoy your new stay. If you wanna lurk or anything. Oh, some stories are super long in this one. Wow. The butterfly. The beetle. The snowman. Yeah, definitely never heard of most of this that he wrote. I wonder if I can find another angel one. The Psyche. The snail on the rose bush. Ooh, the old church bell. Serval shilling. Ooh, the bird folklore. If I see birds, I'm like, I am interested, but I don't know. Maybe I should look up which stories people recommend. Oh, this one's so long. Auntie. I'm like getting so close to the end of the book just because I'm skipping so many. Ooh, the Dryad. Why did I see the word Aladdin just now? Okay. Godfather's picture book. Court cards. The candles. Not finding anything that really catches my attention right now. how long is this one? Super long. Okay. Page flicking ASMR, exactly. I don't know if I'm going too fast though. Uh-oh, I was gonna end. Oh no, I'm reaching the end. I don't see anything that I really like. Okay, find one. It's very short though. The Poor Woman and the Little Canary Bird. There was a miserably poor woman. She was very sad, for she had nothing to eat, and her husband was dead and had to be buried. But she was so poor that she could not afford to buy a coffin, and no one would help her, not a single person. And so she wept and prayed to the good Lord to help her, for He is so good to us all. The window was open, and a tiny little bird flew into the room. It was a canary bird that had escaped from its cage and flown over all the rooftops, and now, having come in through the poor woman's window, it sat by the head of the dead man and sang so beautifully. It was as if it wanted to say to the woman, "You must not be sad. Can't you hear how happy I am?" And the poor woman took some breadcrumbs in her hand and called to the little bird. It hopped over to her and ate the crumbs. It was so sweet. Then there was a knock on the door. A woman entered, and when she saw the little canary bird that had flown in through the window, she said, "This is surely the bird that was written about in the newspaper today. It has flown away from some people down the street." And so the miserable poor woman went to the people with the little bird, and they were very happy to see it again. They asked her where she had found it, and she told them it had flown in through the rear window, had sat by her dead husband, and sung so beautifully that she had stopped crying. Although she was so poor she could not buy a coffin for her husband, and had nothing at all to eat. And the people felt very sorry for her. They were so good and so happy to have the bird back. They bought a coffin for her dead husband and said to the poor woman that she must come to their home every day and eat and drink with them. She was very happy and thanked the good Lord for having sent the little canary bird to her when she had been so sad. Aww, this one was sweet, I like it. Very short and very sweet. Yes, it. Oh no, that was the last page. Oh, okay. Okay, you know what? Let me see. Let me see the table of contents. Maybe I maybe I can find another one. Yeah, that's me right now. Just flipping through pages. Why do you know the flag drapes? If you sits with it. Wait, really? Oh my god, that's true! I didn't notice that either, because I've never done it before. Aww. The artist I commissioned for my pollitos and accessories. It's so good. I love all the details. Okay. I wanna see if maybe I love their work, right? So I really recommend them. I'm gonna see if maybe I can go back to another one. I think see the buckwheat. Nightingale. Harrick. maybe heartache. I wonder what that one is about. That's number 292. Okay. 292. Okay, how long is this one? Oh, it's pretty short as well. Okay. Heartache. The story we have for you here is really divided into two parts. The first part could be omitted, but it gives us more preliminary information, which is useful. We were staying at a manor house in the country, and it happened that the owner was absent for a day or so. Meanwhile, a lady with a pug dog arrived from the next town. Come, she explained, to dispose of the shares in her tannery. She had her certificates with her, and we advised her to seal them to an envelope and to write on it the address of the proprietor of the estate, General War Commissionary Knight, etc. She listened to us, took up the pen, and hesitated, and begged us to repeat the address slowly. We complied, and she wrote, but in the middle of the general word, she stopped, sighed, and said, "I'm only a woman." While she wrote, she had placed her puggy on the floor, and he was crawling, for the dog had come with her for pleasure and health's sake, and a visitor shouldn't be placed on the floor. He was characterized outwardly by a snub nose and a fleshy back. "He doesn't bite," said the woman. "He hasn't any teeth. He's like one of the family, faithful and grouchy, but the latter is the fault of my grandchildren for teasing him. They play wedding and want to make him the bridesmaid, and that's too strenuous for the poor old fellow." Then she delivered her certificates and took Puggy up in her arms, and that's the first part of the story, which could have been omitted. Puggy died. That's the second part. What? The dog died? I just started the story, why? About weeks later, we arrived in the town and put up at the inn. Our windows looked out into the tannery yard, which was divided into two parts by a wooden fence. In one section were hides and skin caps, raw and tan. Here was all the equipment for carrying on a tanning business, and it belonged to the widow. Puggy had died that morning and was to be buried in this second section of the yard. The widow's grandchildren, that is, the tanner's widows, for Puggy had never married, covered the grave. A grave so beautiful it must have been quite pleasant to lie there. The grave was burdened with broken flower pots and strewn over with sand. At its head they had snuck up a small beer bottle with the neck upward, and that wasn't at all symbolic. The children danced around the grave, and then the oldest of the boys, a practical youngster of 7, proposed that there should be an exhibition of Puggy's grave for everybody living in the street. The price of admission will be one trouser button. That was something every boy would be sure to have, and which he also could give to the little girls. This suggestion was adopted by acclamation. And all the children from the street, and even from the little lane behind, came and each gave a button. Many were seen the afternoon going about with one suspender, and then they had seen Puggy's grave, and that sight was worth it. But outside the tannery yard, close to the entrance, stood a ragged little girl, very beautiful, with the prettiest curly hair, and eyes so clear and blue that it was pleasure to look into them. She didn't say a word, nor did she cry, but every time the gate was open, she looked into the yard as long as she could. She had no button, as she knew very well, so she had to stand sorrowfully outside, until all the others had seen the grave and everyone had left. Then she sat down, put her little brown hands before her eyes, and burst into tears, for she alone hadn't seen Puggy's grave. It was a heartache as great as any grown-up can experience. We saw this from above, and seen from above this, like many of our own, and others' graves could, made us smile. That's the story, and anyone who doesn't understand it can go and buy a share in the widow's tannery. Why the dog? Poor little dog. No, right? I was like, oh, little pug, and then no, he's dead. Aw. Pobrecito. Okay. Let's see what other story. I think I'm gonna read a couple more and that will be all for today. Let me see what else, which other short one I can find. Fun's Nest. Puppet Showman. I think that one sounded interesting. Okay. Okay, let me see. Turning Needle. Maybe the Puppet Showman. That one is 268. Hopefully it's not too long. 60. Okay. Yeah, it's not that long. Okay. The Puppet Showman. On board the steamer was an elderly man with such a joyful face that if it didn't belie him, he must have been the happiest person on earth. In fact, he said he was the happiest. I heard from his own mouth. He was a Dane, a countryman of mine, and a traveling theatrical producer. His whole company was with him and lay in a large box, for he was the proprietor of a puppet show. He said that his natural cheerfulness had been enlightened by a polytechnic student. An experiment had left him completely happy. At first, I didn't understand what he meant, but later he explained the whole thing to me, and here's the story. In the town of Slagels, he said, I gave a performance in the post office courtyard before a brilliant audience, all juvenile except for 2 old matrons. Suddenly, a person in black, looking like a student, entered the hall and sat down. He laughed at the right places and applauded appropriately. He was an unusual spectator. I was anxious to know who he was, and I learned that he was a student from the Polytechnic Institute of Copenhagen, who had been sent out to teach the people in the provinces. My performance ended promptly at 8 o'clock, for children must go to bed early, and a manager must consider the convenience of his public. At 9 o'clock, the student began his lecture and experiments, and now I was one of his spectators. It was all extraordinary to hear and see. Most of it went over my head and into the parsons, as one says, but it made me think that if we mortals can learn so much, we must surely be intended to last longer than the little span we're here on earth. What he performed were miracles, and though only small ones, everything was done as easily as a foot fits into a stocking, as naturally as nature functions. In the days of Moses and the prophets, such a man would have been counted among the wise men of the land. In the Middle Ages, he would have been burned at the stake. I didn't sleep the whole night, and the next evening, when I gave another performance and the student was again present, I was in an exuberantly good humor. I once heard from an actor that when he played the part of a lover, he always thought of one particular lady in the audience. He played all into her and forgot the rest of the house. Now the Polytechnic student was my she, my only spectator, for whom alone I performed. I know what you are. After the performance, when the puppets had taken their curtain calls, the Polytechnic student invited me into his room to have a glass of wine. He spoke of my plays, and I spoke of his science, and I think we were equally pleased, but I had the better of it, for there was much of what he did that he couldn't explain to me. For instance, a piece of iron that falls through a spiral becomes magnetic. Now, why does that happen? The spirit enters it, but where does it come from? It is just as it is with the humans in our world, I think. Our Lord lets them fall through the spiral line of time. The spirit enters them, and there then stands Napoleon, a Luther, or some such person. The whole world is a series of miracles, said the student, but we are so used to them that we call them everyday things. And he continued talking and explaining until finally my skull seemed lifted from my brain, and I honestly confess that if I weren't already an old fellow, I will at once attend the Polytechnic Institute and learn to examine the world more closely, even though I was one of the happiest of men. One of the happiest, said the student, but seemed to be quite thoughtful about it. Are you really happy? He asked me. Yes, I said. I am happy. All the towns welcome me whenever I come with my company. But I do, to be sure, have one wish, which sometimes haunts me like a goblin. A nightmare that rides on my good nature. I should like to be a real theatrical manager, director of a troupe of real men and women. You wish your puppets will come to life. You wish they will become real actors, he said, and you will be their director. And then, will you be completely happy, you think? He didn't believe it, but I believed it, and we talked back and forth about it, without coming any nearer to a solution. Still, we cleaned glasses together, and the wine were excellent. There must have been some magic in it, for otherwise, the story would have been that I got drunk. That didn't happen though. I kept my clear viewpoint. Somehow, there was sunlight in the room, and it alone from the face of the Polytechnic student. It made me think of the old tales of the gods in their eternal youth, when they wander on earth. I told him that, and he smiled. I could have sworn that he was one of the old gods in disguise, or at least that he belonged to their family. I certainly must have been something of that sort, for my greatest wish was to be fulfilled. The puppets will come to life, and I will be the director of real people. We drank to that. He packed all my puppets into a wooden box, strapped it on my back, and then let me fall through the spiral. I can still hear how I tumbled, and when I was lying on the floor. This is possibly true, and the whole company sprang from the box. The spirit had come upon all of them. All the puppets had become great artists, at least so they said, and I was their director. Everything was ready for the first performance, but the whole company wanted to speak to me, and the public too. The prima ballerina said that the house was going to fall if she didn't stand on one leg in the show. She was mistress of the whole company, and insisted on being treated as such. The lady who played the empress wanted to be treated as an empress off stage, or else she would get out of practice. The man who had only to deliver a letter made himself as important as the leading man, for the little parts were just as important as the big ones, and all were all equal consequence in making up an artistic whole, he said. The hero will play only parts composed of nothing but exit lines, because those brought him the applause. The prima donna will only play act in a red light, for that suited her best. She refused to appear in a blue one. They were like a troop of flies in a bottle, and I was in the middle of the bottle with them, for I was the director. My breath stopped, and my head was dizzy. I was as miserable as a man can be. It was quite a new kind of people among them whom I found myself now. I only wish I had them all back in their box, and that I had never been a director at all. I told them straight out that they were all nothing but puppets, and so they killed me. I found myself lying on my bed in my room. How I got there, or how I got away from the Polytechnic student, he may know. I don't. The moon shone in on the floor when the box lay overturned, and all the dolls, great and small, were scattered about in confusion. But I wasn't idle. I jumped out of bed and popped them all back into the box, some on their heads and some on their feet. Then I slammed down the lid and seated myself on the box. It was a picture worth painting. Can you see it? I can. Now you'll just have to stay in there, I said, and I'll never again wish that you have flesh and blood. I was in such a relief frame of mind. I was the happiest of men. The Polytechnic student had entirely purified me. I sat there in a state of utter contentment and fell asleep on the box. The next morning, it was really noon, for I slept wonderfully late that day. I was still sitting there, lightheaded, and conscious that my one former wish had been foolish. I asked for the Polytechnic student, but he was gone, like the gods of Greece and Rome. And since that time, I have been the happiest of men. I am a happy director. My company never grumbles, or my public either. They are amused to their heart's content. I can put my plays together just as I like, taking out of other plays anything that pleases me, and no one is annoyed at it. Plays that nowadays are disdained in the big theaters, but that the public ran to see and wept over 30 years ago. Those plays I now put on. I perform I perform them for the little ones, and the little ones weep for just as Papa and Mama did. I give them Joan, Monsecone, and Tivek, but in abbreviated versions, for the youngsters don't want long-winded love stories. What they want is something sad but short. I have traveled through Denmark from one end to the other. I know everyone there, and everyone knows me, but now I'm on my way to Sweden, and if I'm successful there and make good money, I'll be a man of Scandinavia. Otherwise, I won't. I tell you this because you are my countrymen. And I, as his countryman, in turn naturally tell it, just for the sake of telling it. Interesting. I was like, wow, his puppets came to life? I guess he was happier when they were not real. The total opposite of Pinocchio, I guess. Okay. Let me see if I can find one last one that's shorter. So whenever the story mentions Denmark, it's because the author, he's from Denmark, so that's also another interesting detail. Pete the bedtime story. Yes. I'm hoping my little ASMR stories are lulling you all to bed. Cause this time, it's time for bed for you all. Okay, I think I found one. It's also pretty short. This is gonna be the last one. It's called The Last Pearl. There was a rich and happy house. All those in it, the owners and servants and friends too, were happy and cheerful, for on this day a son and heir had been born, and mother and child were doing well. The lamp in the cozy bedroom had been partly covered, and heavy curtains of costly silken material had been drawn tightly together before the windows. The carpet was as thick and soft as moss. Everything here invited rest and sleep. It was a delightful place for repose, and the nurse found it so, too. She slept, and indeed she might, for all was well and blessed here. The guardian spirit of the house stood by the head of the bed, and over the child, at the mother's breast, it spread itself like a net of shining stars, stars of great richness. Each was a pearl of good fortune. Life's good fairies have brought their gifts to the newborn child. Here sparkled health, wealth, happiness, love, everything that man can desire on earth. Everything has been brought and bestowed here, said the guardian spirit. No, said the voice nearby. It was the voice of the child's good angel. One fairy has not yet brought her gift, but she will bring it. She'll bring it in time, even if years should pass. The last pearl is yet lacking. Lacking? Nothing must be lacking here. If that actually is the case, let us go and seek the powerful fairy. Let us go to her. She will come. She will come someday. Her pearl must be given to bind the wreath together. Where does she live? Where is her home? Tell me that, and I'll go fetch the pearl. You do want to then, said the child's good angel. I will guide you to her, or to where she is to be sought. She has no permanent place. She visits the palace of the emperor and the cottage of the poorest peasant. She passes no one by without leaving a trace of herself. To all she brings her gift, be it a world or a toy, and this child also she will come to. You think that while the time to come will be equally long one way or the other, it will not be equally profitable if you await her. Well then, we will go and fetch the pearl, the last pearl in this world of gifts. And so, hand in hand, they flew to the place which at the moment was the fairy's home. It was a large house, with dark halls and empty rooms, all strangely still. A row of windows stood open, so the fresh air could flow in, and the long white curtains could rustle in the breeze. In the middle of the floor stood an open coffin, and within it lay the corpse of a woman still in the prime of life. The loveliest fresh roses lay upon her, leaving visible only the folded, delicate hands and the noble face, beautiful in death, with exalted solemnity of one initiated into God's service. By the coffin stood her husband and children, a whole flock of them, the smallest of whom was held in her father's arms. They had come to bid a last farewell, and the husband kissed her hand, that which, now like a withered leaf, had once clasped theirs with strength and love. Bitter tears of sorrow fell in heavy droops upon the floor, but not a word was spoken. Silence expressed a world of grief. Silent and sobbing, they left the room. A lighted candle stood there, the flame struggling against the wind as it shot up its long red tongue. A stranger entered the room, closed the lid of the coffin, and hammered in the nails. The hammer strokes clanged sharply through the halls and rooms of the house, resounding in the hearts that fled there. "Where do you take me?" inquired the garden spirit. Here could live no fairy whose pearl belonged among life's best gifts." "She dwells in this very place, now at this holy hour," said the angel, pointing to a corner. And there, where the mother had sat in life and amid flowers and pictures, and had been like a good fairy of the house, where she had affectionately greeted husband, children, and friends, and, like rays of sunshine, had spread happiness, love, and harmony, and had been the very heart of everything, there now sat a strange woman clad in long, heavy robes. It was Sorrow, and she now ruled here in the mother's place. A hot tear rolled down her cheek, into her lap, for it became a pearl, sparkling with all the hues of the rainbow. And as the angel caught it up, it shone with the sevenfold luster of a star. The pearl of sorrow, the last pearl, which must never be lacking. Through it, the light and splendor of all the other gifts are encased, beholden in a reflection of the rainbow, which unites earth with heaven itself. In the place of each of our beloved ones taken from us by death, we gain one friend more to look forward to being within heaven. In the night we look up beyond the stars, toward the end of all things, reflecting upon the pearl of sorrow, for within it lies the wings of Psyche, which carry us away from here. Aww, I like that. Thank you so much for following, Seraphim. Thank you for the prayer. Okay, this was the last one for today. I honestly never read even though I had this book for a while, never read most of the stories here. So it was really nice to finally read them. Thank you for reading to us. You're welcome. Thank you all so much for coming. Okay, let me look for someone to read before we go. I learned many new fairy tales today. I'm glad. That's exactly what I wanted. I really need to get more fairy tales books from different authors, so I can learn more. I always wanted to get like the green fairy tales ones, but I haven't had a chance to. So hopefully someday. Hi, thank you for the hi. But yeah, I really recommend looking into Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales. They're very like you all got to see. They're very buried. I didn't really read the ones that are more. Oh, thank you for the stretch. Hold on. Oh yeah, my water. Thank you for the hydrate too. Okay. There. hydrated. Stretch my wings. Finish reading. and what else I was gonna say? Oh yeah, I was gonna look for someone to read. Hold on. Honestly, I really like this. I wasn't sure how I was gonna go doing ASMR, but it wasn't bad. Even though I probably did more actually do warm-ups before, so I don't strain my throat too much like I just did today. But I definitely would like to do more ASMR in the future. So this won't be just for today, I promise. I might do more. I'll see. It was very nice. Aww. I am glad. Also was actually another thing that I was thinking about. Do we ASMR stream while drawing? While our streams? I'm getting a new tablet, and instead of using my iPad, and the new tablet has like the texture screen included, and I feel like that will be nice for ASMR streams as well, because I want to have it on my iPad already, like it's very worn out, so you can barely hear. So maybe we could do like our stream ASMR too, so you can be more cozy. We'll see. Just need to wait for my tablet to come. And congrats on the 600. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Oh yeah. I keep saying I'm gonna look for someone to raid, then I get distracted. Hold on. Let me see. Oh, I see a lot of. Why am they're showing me people playing Uma Musume right now? Because they probably know. They know I'm obsessed. Okay. Ooh. Okay, let me check this person. Okay, let me check someone else. I always struggle finding someone to raid. There's so many cool people. It's funny that I'm getting people who are playing Uma Musume. I'm surprised that I didn't open the game once today. I'm probably gonna do it after stream, because I need to do my dailies. Okay. There's so many people with cute models. Oh, is there a fairy tale that you like the most from the ones that we read? I definitely still really like the Ugly Duckling, even though it was, I didn't expect it to be so a lot sadder. see someone doing the art. Okay, maybe this person. The art looks really cool. Okay, I think I found someone. Yeah, for that queen. I feel so bad for them. Why you know there's actually a term for prejudice against people who aren't conventionally attractive. It's called lookism. So that's basically what the ugly duckling was experiencing. I think the little match girl stuck with me the most. Oh yeah, that one is so short yet so impactful. Like makes it so sad. I hope you watch the animated one that I linked, because of course if you're in the mood for crying, so I really wanted to watch it, but I don't know if I want to cry. Okay, let me put great message. Okay, make sure to grab your rate messages. Rate 1 is for library patrons. Rate 2 is for anyone else on the vlog. We're gonna be rating wait, let me check their name. We're gonna be rating a Spurload, who seems to be doing some art. It looks really nice. Okay. I did. The animation was nice, but the story was even sadder when you could actually see the events play out, right? Like I said, it was like us wanting to read it, but actually see what happened in the story. So sad. A little match girl. I still want to know why they included that on My Little Mermaid DVD. I wonder if it's like they just included it because I think it came out around that same year. But yeah, very beautiful and very sad. She didn't deserve that. Okay. Thank you for this stream. You're welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, for keeping me company once again. I hope you'll enjoy my first ever ASMR stream, even though I'm a complete noob at this. But I definitely wanna do this again in the future. I hope you'll have a really good night, and I'll see about my schedule, because I'm not sure if I'll be able to stream much this week, but I'll keep y'all updated. I hope y'all have a really good night, and to see you next time when the library opens. Bye bye.